believe our first guest is already here joining us. Tracy, are you there?
I am. Hi.
Perfect.
Hello.
Hello, Tracy, and welcome to End of Days Radio. It's quite a pleasure to finally have you here with us.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So my name is Michael, and also joining us here is Daniel.
Good morning, Tracy. I'm so excited to have you here with us finally on End of Days Radio.
Uh-oh, the call dropped, Daniel. Tracy, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here again.
Okay, yeah, it seems like Skype keeps falling in and out for whatever reason, but that's going to happen every now and then. So, Tracy, this is the first time you ever joined us here on the program, so I thought you would kind of tell us a little bit about yourself before we begin.
Well, I'm just a writer of nonfiction books. I've written several books about, I would say, occult history. That is, the occult side of the history of things. So I've written a couple of books about the occult history of money. My first book was about the occult history of certain bloodlines in Europe. That was the Merovingian mythos. And then, most recently, I would say I've been concentrating on the history of the occult idea of Baphomet. So I have a book out now with a partner, Alexander Rivera, and the title of that book is Baphomet, the Temple Mystery Unveiled. And before that, well, that's a nonfiction book. This other one's also nonfiction, but it has sort of a narrative form to it. So, a couple years ago, I had a book called Clock Shavings, and that was a memoir about, information I've received over the Ouija board, a lot of which came from Baphomet. So, that's what I've been writing about, mostly, sort of historical occult nonfiction, and then a little bit of occult memoir. And, yeah, that's who I am.
Starting off, like, just to backtrack just a little bit more, when you were a kid growing up, did anything paranormal happen to you as a child?
Oh, not especially. No, I can't think of anything really. Well, there was, I don't know. I thought I saw a monster in the backyard once, but I'm not really sure. It could have been a wild pig or something.
That's
I don't know.
funny.
It was probably a monster.
Yeah, you might have seen something perhaps. But yeah, I was also very curious myself to what perhaps your childhood would have been like, or you just growing up as a teenager. It's just interesting that you would take the path that you've taken. I'm just wondering what influenced you.
Well, I think I was just, I guess I was interested in, the occult. And, I think it started off with maybe reading H.P. Lovecraft stories. And then, yeah, it did really start when I was a teenager, me writing about it. And that had to do with, when I learned about, the Masonic conspiracy theories and the New World Order and stuff like that. I needed to know more about Freemasonry. And
yes,
I sort of got into it through that route.
Were you, I'm sorry. I was going to ask, before we get too ahead, one thing that seems to influence a lot of people is, their upbringing, whether it's religious or not. Did you have any sort of like Baptist or Catholic upbringing or anything like that?
Well, my mother and father were Christians, and my mother's family was greatly involved with the Nazarene Church. That's a Protestant church. So my grandfather's a minister, and my great grandfather was a minister in that church. So yeah, there was some religious upbringing. I didn't spend a lot of time in church when I was a kid, though.
Interesting. So there was a religious upbringing. Later on, you had to reveal, your interest in what you're writing about to your family, I take it. So, if you don't mind me asking, how did they take this all of a sudden?
Well, it wasn't really all of a sudden because, they'd known me the whole time. So,
yeah, of course.
I guess they're kind of, I don't know. They've been supportive. Perhaps a little bit scared, but
yeah, I hear you. I'm the black sheep of the family too. There's lots of religious Bible belts here, except me. Mm-hmm. So I understand.
So, which one of you is it one of the guys I'm speaking to? The guy from the Misfits band?
Oh yeah, we're actually about to bring him on.
Okay.
He just texted me, so. Michael, if you could call Mike Hideous and bring him on with us, it looks like he's waiting for us now.
Yeah, he's been waiting for a while now. He's texting me right now asking if he should call in or this or that, and it's like he's confused about what's going on. Even though
I was a little bit confused because one of you is named Mike, and so I was not sure what was going on. But now I get a better.
Yeah, our host, it's confusing to me as well. So our host, I call him Michael, and then Mike Hideous, just Mike.
All right.
He likes to spell his name with a Y.
Hello. Hello.
There we go.
Mike, there you are. We were just trying to conjure you up.
Here I am, boys.
Perfect. We have Tracy here with us.
Hello, Miss Twyman or Mrs. Twyman, whatever you would prefer me to call you, or Tracy.
You can just call me Tracy. Hi. Nice to
Hi,
talk
Tracy. It's nice to talk to you. I don't mean to interrupt whatever conversation you guys were having, but I've just finished reading your book Clock Shavings, and I have read your book The Merovingian Mythos, and both were fascinating.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Nice.
You're quite welcome.
One thing I did forget to mention, Tracy, was when you were growing up, were you playing with any spirit boards, Ouija boards, any of that thing?
I tried that out a few times at slumber parties at my house, which again, you know what? Actually, I was the only one doing that at my house. And,
that's funny.
a lot of the other girls some of the other girls didn't like it, I think.
I bet. Yeah.
Sure.
They refused to participate.
Kind of freaked out.
It was I think it was like innocent about it. I didn't realize it would be offensive to people at the time, or that, people were afraid of that stuff. But the thing is, it never really worked for me when I was a teenager or a child.
Yeah.
So it only worked when I got older and when I got into studying sort of esoteric mysteries. I think I started to be plugged into a stream of gnosis, and
that's super interesting. Was there a moment when you first got into this stuff that you kind of turned the corner and you suddenly realized, hey, these demonic beings or whatever, these are actually real? Was there a moment that really convinced you?
Well, I felt like I was sort of influenced, I would say, from about the time I was 18 onward, or a little bit before my 18th birthday. I do remember actually, and this is actually described in Clock Shavings, how I felt like I became sort of possessed by some sort of force or motivation that was giving me kind of an assignment of what to do. And
loser.
I think we.
Oh, it was just getting good too.
I was telling the story. I don't know where I got cut off. I was basically saying, I did at some point feel like I kind of got mentally tapped by some outer force, inspired to do some stuff. It had to do with starting a magazine that was about royal bloodlines and their connection to various mythological mysteries, like having to do with the Holy Grail and things like that. So I definitely felt influenced when I started doing that. And it was only really when, we started using the Ouija board that it really took on, and when I say we, me and other people I was working with, other friends that I had at the time, we felt like, it had some sort of concrete, external, objective reality to it, that it was giving us very specific messages, things that we couldn't have invented on our own. And, whereas before it had been sort of an inclination, feeling like I'm somehow being pushed or influenced by something from beyond. Definitely when you get messages like that from a Ouija board, you can't deny it anymore, or at least I couldn't. I don't feel like doing a lot of mental gymnastics to try to come up with an alternative explanation for how we could have channeled such messages. It seems to me it was fairly obvious that we were communicating with something.
Yeah, and Tracy, I was watching one of your videos uploaded on YouTube titled Acknowledge Baphomet, and wow, that's...
Baphomet.
Yeah, some people pronounce it Baphomet, some people say Baphomet. How would you pronounce it, Tracy? What do you think the proper wording is?
I generally say Baphomet, but, obviously, if you were French, you might say Baphomet, and that's what the French knights who were being interrogated.
Yeah, I've heard it two ways.
Pronounced it when they were, that was the known origin of that word, So, but at the same time, some people think that the word got mixed up with the French word for Muhammad, and that has sort of a hard end to it, so you could pronounce it either way.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. I was watching your video, and I'm thinking, wow, this is pretty intense. What was going through your head when you read Baphomet?
Yeah, because that video is actually the first time that we got a message about Baphomet. We had been talking to Cain, and before that we had been talking to Jean Cocteau, the French artist. That's how the whole thing started, really, because we were basically just researching the alleged mysteries of Rennes-le-Chateau in France and the supposed ancestry of the French Merovingian bloodline going to Jesus and things like that. All this Da Vinci Code stuff, all before the Da Vinci Code happened. But we were researching these types of topics. Jean Cocteau supposedly was, one of the grand masters of a secret society connected to that kind of stuff. So that's why we were trying to talk to him. He ended up referring us to Kane, and we had several different sessions with Kane where he was trying to tell us something, about some sort of mysteries related to the subjects we were researching. And we talked about, like the Garden of Eden and the flood and all of these biblical stories. And that, just for example, that's some of the stuff he wanted to talk to us about. But then when we asked him some personal stuff, actually, we asked Kane if he could tell us about, we seemed like we were having problems in our finances, that both me and the person I was living with at the time and doing these Ouija board sessions with, it seemed like we were having problems with our finances. We just couldn't seem to, get over the hump, basically. And so we asked if we were cursed. And that's when we were told that Baphomet had cursed us. And, of course, I was familiar with that term. I knew that, this is the demon that the Templars were accused of worshiping. But I really didn't think about it much. It wasn't on my mind. I was surprised to hear that word. And we ended up asking, why Baphomet was putting a curse on us. And that's when we got the message, Acknowledge Baphomet, which was, the title of that video. We were told that we needed to acknowledge Baphomet in order to relieve this curse. And the reason why the curse was put on us, supposedly, was because of a book that a friend of mine had written, the friend being Nicholas de Vere. He wrote a book about the royal bloodlines that I was talking about.
Right.
And I had promised to help him publish this book, and then I had just put it on the back burner and not thought about it much and not really fulfilled my promise to him. And the Ouija board told us that is why Baphomet had cursed us, because Baphomet had a particular interest in this book and we hadn't fulfilled our promise. And so it was basically, we were being punished until we fulfilled our promise.
Tracy, if I may just interrupt you real quick. Did you not mention in your book that it was Nicholas who wanted to give you the copyright to publish that book here in America? All right. Shall I pick up? Are you there, Trace? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Mike.
So basically, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm sorry. I keep having these weird things happen on my screen here. All right. Let me just make this short. Okay. It was to my knowledge that when you were talking about Nicholas de Vere and printing the book that he had, in the book it says, I mean, it was obvious that you said you didn't know if you could trust this guy, you didn't know him very well, but he wanted to give you the copyright to publish his book here in America. Is that correct?
He gave me the copyright to publish it anywhere. Yes.
He did.
And yes, it was very odd. And, but I ended up giving that up after a while. I held the copyright for a while. The royalty checks were coming to me, and then I would sort of take a cut and pass it on to him. I don't know why. Who knows? Maybe it was a tax avoidance scheme. I don't know. But
okay.
But it was like there were so many weird things about Nick. I never knew what he wanted. I mean, he always wanted samples of my blood so he could find out if I was part of this bloodline, so he could prove it because he thought that I was. And I thought that was odd,
Oh, yeah.
Did you give him any samples?
I never did. No.
That's probably good that you didn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
I have another question for you. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but did Nicholas recently die?
Well, a couple of years ago he did, yeah.
Okay, I was unaware of that. I was online when I was doing some research to this whole story, and I had seen something that said the late Nicholas de Vere, and it, I wasn't prepared for that. I really didn't know he died. So please excuse my not knowing that. But I do have to ask you this now. Based on what you have written, now I've been very, very, very little have I been in correspondence with you on Facebook. And as you may or may not know, I have like a billion questions I've been dying to ask you. I mean, we're only limited on what we can really do here on the radio. But when I first asked you on Facebook what your background was based on the first book, And also the fact that there were so many people that you and I know. There's like this connection between, you and I and the various people who you know and I know. What I was getting at was, by the time I reached the end of your book, Clock Shavings, I was almost under the impression, well, no, I shouldn't say that. Let me ask you, where does your faith lie based on the fact that you have done the contact with Cain? You even mentioned that you contacted Jesus. You spoke with these people through the Ouija board. Where does your faith lie? What do you believe?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really have enough information to make a decision on that. You know, I don't have a religion that I'm promoting, so.
Understood.
And that's fine. I just, by the time I reached the end of Clock Shavings, you had put all that research into the book, all these quotes, and I have to be honest, I was beginning to get a little bit lost at the end. I didn't really know what your point was to that, other than just bringing, I'm sorry?
No, I'm listening. Go ahead.
I was just wondering where you were going with that, because after the whole first part where you talk about Boyd and the problems that you had with him, and then the curses and all that, it just, I got the first part of the book. I got all that. But when I reached all the other parts, I was getting a bit confused on what you were trying to say at the end.
I don't know. The whole thing was written in sort of a frenzy, basically, at the end. I worked for years actually trying to reconstruct the story of what had happened during the years that are covered in the book. I had this stack of seances, the transcripts of them and the videos and everything. And I tried to piece together everything that happened linearly. Right. And then when I finished doing that part, I had to write a summary of it. And the summary included, even some of the references to some of the more recent seances we've done, including things that have happened in the last couple of years. And so the last, what he's talking about is the last part of the book is actually pretty long. And it's all kind of a lengthy essay about what it all means. And,
right. I mean,
I guess it's trying to deconstruct from what they've told us, from what these spirits have told us, what their motivations are, what the whole cosmic scheme is apparently. And, in other words, what their place is. Are they in hell? It seems that maybe they are. That's what they seem to be describing. And then, heaven and, the end of days and all this stuff. What does it mean? Because this is the kind of stuff we were getting messages about throughout all of these sessions. And, so the last, segment of the book is my summary of the whole thing. And yes, a lot of it was basically written, under inspiration,
Okay.
And just, trying to piece together what it seems like, they were saying to us. So about everything.
So you don't really fall into, and I say this based on, of course, listening to your other interviews, you don't fall into the Gnostic category?
I don't know what category I fall into. I mean, I'm still writing and researching things right now. And, every day that passes, I'm getting a broader perspective on everything. So I don't think it really does me any good to categorize myself and hem myself into a particular point of view when, you're always getting new information. So,
yeah, I think that's actually a little bit more evolved. I think that's a little bit more evolved than most people.
The problem is, when you're writing books, they want to, obviously put them on a certain place on the shelves. And so they need codes on the back to tell them, what category it goes in. And all the, marketing and promotions people, they want those categories too. And as you know, in general, when it comes to media, promoters of media, the whole industry wants things that are like other things that are already popular. And that's the only way they know how to describe anything, even.
Very true.
When they're describing something to the audience. So,
yeah.
When, I've always had a hard time doing that. I would be better off if I could. But I just write things that I think are unique because I write whatever, I think the world needs. In other words, I write not that it's like I'm trying to save the world or anything. What I'm saying is I end up writing books that I have looked for and not found. And that's what I'm doing.
Understood, Tracy.
Based on what you just said, when you speak of these seances that you had with the Ouija board connected with Baphomet and Cain, which you also mentioned might be the same entity, I have to ask, and again, I understand what you're saying, that you can't categorize yourself to any one particular belief, and that's fine. But tell me, are you a logical person when it came down to understanding, for example, when they mentioned this hole in the center of the earth with a black sun? I mean, was that a little hard to accept? Do you, I mean, how do you look at something like that? I'm a very logical, cynical person. And to me, when I hear something about heaven and hell, I think of it more of as a metaphor for something, because, I mean, logically speaking, if you go more than 5 miles down into the earth, it gets very, very hot and it's really unbearable to be down there. So when you say, there's a hell or something, how do you take that? How do you understand something like that?
I just assume that there's aspects of reality that are unseen. I mean, that's obvious. Where is the person that I was talking to? They weren't in front of me.
Absolutely right. It's very hard to wrap your head around something like that. You know what I'm saying?
I guess, but I mean, so is everything. I mean, when I look outside and I realize that the Earth and the Moon are in this relationship where you always see one face of the moon, and the sun and the moon look like they're the same size in the sky, and all of this is happening supposedly with celestial mechanics. Everything's just so perfectly placed that it just works out that way. Right. I can't fathom that, and I think the same goes with any of these obviously unseen forces that are behind the known world, and people theorize about them, whether they call them, they theorize about gravity and they theorize about hyperdimensional space and things like that. All of this is just, people trying to explain the fact that you can obviously see the effects of unseen forces. So I think any construct you want to come up with, is basically equally valid until you can prove it one way or another.
Right.
So, and where is hell? I'm not really sure, but it's probably in some space that we are not able to see under normal circumstances.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I don't know.
Do you think that the people on Earth should really be more attentive to such things as the unseen and heaven and hell and God and the devil? Do you think that's important now that you've researched all this stuff and have delved or have delved deep into a subject that is just, it's very complicated to explain, but you were there. You really researched a lot about this. Do you think it's an important message to spread to people?
Well, it has to do with my audience. I've been, like I said, writing about the esoteric for a long time. And I found that a lot of that stuff, the literature that's written about it, about secret societies and things like that, trying to interpret their actions and the symbols that they use. A lot of it, what's been written has really discounted that aspect of it, the spiritual aspect of it. And obviously there's stuff written by, I guess, freaky conspiracy nuts where, and actually, that's where you have to go these days to find someone taking that aspect seriously.
Right.
So, but I don't think you could really understand. To me, it seemed like I gained a greater understanding of what occult groups are really doing with their rituals when I started speaking to the spirits that I think inspire such things and are involved in such things. I think that every time you're engaged in one of these rituals, you're encountering this unseen world and the beings that inhabit it. So, in order to correctly interpret the symbolism of the rituals and the signs and the figures, at a certain point you have to really get your head into what the people that invented these things were thinking when they did so.
Would you say that most of these secret societies that you've been, you spent so much time researching, would you say in your opinion that most of them had some sort of Baphomet character behind them or some sort of spiritual entity sort of backing them up and giving them orders and instructions?
That's my inclination. I mean, the whole thing started with me researching the Priory of Zion, that secret society, and the mysteries surrounding this village in southern France, where there's a church decorated in a bizarre way, and people have been trying to decode that for decades now, and that's what I was doing when I wrote my first book, was trying to decode that mystery and the mysteries of this secret society. And we started, as part of that research, contacting these spirits. That really gave me an insight into what the Priory of Zion was probably doing. And that's certainly what Baphomet and Cain told us, that they were, the people involved with the Priory of Zion were, talking to them as well. So, yes, I think that, a lot of these secret societies, for sure, that's what lies at the heart of it. And that's what gives it its power and mystery in a way. Sometimes you can tell a certain group has been, touched with a certain power, and that's probably where it comes from. And once I started interpreting the mystery of Rennes-le-Château that way, it really started making more sense to me. The whole thing is kind of nonsensical in a lot of ways, but if you interpret some of the actions of the people that have been involved with the Priory of Zion, the public actions they've taken, the clues that they've left behind for other people to interpret, it seems to me like they might very well be taking orders from someone else, from specifically a spirit, and that their actions are part of a ritual, really. So that's sort of complicated because maybe the audience isn't familiar with that subject, but at any rate, that's I think that's an example of how I think divination might play a role in secret societies.
Speaking of secret societies, rituals, does pop culture also utilize the powers of Baphomet or Baphomet, whichever you like to call it, Mike?
Well, it seems like it's playing a very prominent role, actually. And I first started writing about Baphomet as a possible influence in really the formation of the United States through Freemasonry, and also the creation of the modern monetary system and the entire way in which modern economics works. That's what a couple of my books were about. And when I started writing about that, I noticed this trend.
Wasn't that one of your books was called Money Grows on Trees of something like that?
Tree of Knowledge.
Tree of Knowledge. Thank you.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in 2010, I had Money Grows on the Tree of Knowledge. Before that, in 2005, there was Solomon's Temple, or Solomon's Treasure, excuse me.
Right.
Which was also about the same subject, really getting into the Baphomet angle on that.
Yes.
I did a few interviews on the radio about it, and it seemed like after that, I noticed just in my own metadata when I was looking at who was coming to my website, that people were coming looking for information on how to get rich through Baphomet.
Wow.
And that they wanted to sell their souls to Baphomet or join a secret society with Baphomet and get rich that way.
Oh my God, people are so base.
That was 2005, and then I noticed this trend, building over the years, and it culminates to the point where, around 2010, 2011, you start having all these videos on YouTube of people interpreting popular music and music videos, and they see Baphomet everywhere. Most of the time they're really just seeing things, like they think that anything that's horned or any sort of pattern in the wall is Baphomet. But what happens
Tracy, real quick, what about the giant statue in Bohemian Grove? Could that have been Baphomet?
That's Baal, really.
Oh, okay.
The Baal figure, yeah, the god that Moloch people used to sacrifice their babies to in the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
Put them inside of a giant oven.
Very early on, Tracy, I created a few different banner logos for the show, and originally I had used the Baphomet, and this was very early on before we used the logo we use today. Much different, but it's probably good that we didn't use the logo, because people seem to have a big issue with the graphic work that we use now. They deem it too dark, which I believe is just ridiculous. But I think people they think that this show is a religious show, which it isn't. So I think it completely throws them off. So, yes, it's just.
I have a question. Actually, I have two questions for you, Tracy. First, and you don't have to really go into super detail about this, but was anybody to replace Nicholas now that he's gone?
Well, I'm sure there's probably several people that have claimed to replace him. I wasn't involved at that point. I had really not been involved in the Dragon Court for a while. I was still, I guess, some kind of member technically. I hadn't resigned totally, but I barely talked to him, so I don't know what's going on. And they're all nuts. They're so crazy. I can't stand it. So I don't even want to touch the subject.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Was Nicholas sent your way by an entity?
Oh, I definitely think so. See, this is the only thing that's interesting. Nicholas is a very interesting character. And then the fact that, we were definitely being pushed to become involved with him is, one of the reasons why I just still tolerated him, even though it was just so hard to believe some of the things he said. And then he would try to force me to back him up publicly on these claims he was making about himself being, a rightful king of some sovereign land somewhere.
Wow.
He was claiming that he had the right to start his own country and things like that. Just to give you guys an idea. And but anyway, I definitely felt like there was still something sort of magical about him, and that he had some kind of magical power, even if his claims weren't technically true. And so, I still sort of had a respect for him, but it was because I think he had such a sort of mystique about him that he attracted very crazy people around him. And that's why I really wasn't, didn't spend much time with him.
I hear you.
All right. That's a fair enough answer. And that's fine. But my other important question was, in the book, Clock Shavings, you make mention that Baphomet says to you there was going to be a major war and many people were going to die. Sorry about that. That's my bird. That's Captain, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain. Take a bow.
Those sounds are quite appropriate.
Yes.
So anyway, you make mention in there that Baphomet had said to you that there was a war coming and many people were going to die. Now, I cannot remember what year it was that was actually mentioned, but what's your response to that?
I don't know if he gave us a year back then, but the subject has been returned to many times since then. So as recently as 2 years ago, we were still being told that 2017 is the time.
No. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I bring it up is because if I'm correct, all of that seance Ouija board stuff took place in the mid to late 90s. And from what I remember, No, it took place 2001 through 2005 mostly. The stuff that's in the book is mostly from those years, yeah. Okay, so then, all right, so then your answer sort of corresponds with what I was just going to say, because I remember that there was a number said that it would be in 6 to 7 years, whenever it was he mentioned that.
Oh, well, yes. I mean, and again, you can't trust these guys, I don't know if they're telling the truth or not,
right.
or if they meant to lie,
yes.
or if they just don't know the truth.
Mm-hmm.
They said all sorts of things. One of which is they said that John Kerry was going to be president and then was going to be assassinated.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but I don't know, maybe
help us.
Still happen, I guess.
John Kerry, the ghoul.
The potato face man.
My goodness.
Wow. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah, so Tracy, in another video labeled I Reap All the Wealth, this time we see a very different board. It's all white with black lettering and symbols. I've never seen a board quite like that. Can you go and further describe the inception of this board?
Yes, well, this was designed by my husband at the time, the guy I was living with, who, was my Ouija partner in most of these stories.
Yes.
In the book, and he basically woke up in a frenzy one night about 3 a.m. and just went to the computer under communication in his head telling him to do this, and started designing a Ouija board, and this is how it turned out. And it really sort of corresponds in a lot of ways to the symbolism, I think, of Baphomet, because it's, for one thing, the letters are arranged according to the Atbash cipher, which we didn't even realize it was the Atbash cipher at the time. It took us maybe a year or two after that we designed the board, or he designed the board, to realize that's what it was. but it was the result of a message we had gotten repeatedly from both Baphomet and Cain, where they kept doing the entire alphabet from A to Z and then B to Y, and they would go from basically from the outer edges of the alphabet into the middle, and they would just do that over and over again. And so it became a theme in all these seances, and therefore Brian decided to arrange the alphabet that way on the Ouija board he designed, and then he put a bunch of other symbols on there, astrological symbols, and also Yakin and Boaz, kind of made it look like a Masonic tracing board, I would say.
Yeah, that's true.
And anyway, so we found out later this arrangement of the alphabet is the Atbash cipher, which is a cipher that's really kind of associated with Baphomet because it's associated with the Templars, and authors have suggested that if you use Aramaic, you apply the Atbash cipher style to Aramaic and run Baphomet through that cipher, then you get Sophia, you get the female personification of the wisdom of God. So and that's something that people have written about numerous times. It's part of the lore of Baphomet. And so when I found out that he had been telling us to use the Atbash cipher over and over again, it just was another confirmation, really, that we were dealing with definitely a non-human intelligence.
Yeah, that must have been a little bit bizarre for you, right?
Yeah.
The whole thing. What's really bizarre is actually how smooth it all went. How I just went along with it.
Well, I don't think you had much of a choice to, kind of just want to ride that one out.
The whole story is a story of me just going along with the impulses I was being given, really, and how I just
were dreams part of this? Did you have dreams where you were getting instructions or coercion of any kind?
There were a few of those. I don't know if I wrote about them, but yeah.
Yeah, I imagine I'm sorry to cut you off, but I imagine there must have been quite a few hectic dreams, very vivid dreams. I can imagine.
There's a lot of stuff that didn't make it in the book because it's just too dark and also too personal.
Ah, okay. I hear you.
But feel free to talk about it on this show.
But it's stuff that would have gone into the sort of the climax of the story, but I ended up just having to leave it out. But yeah, some of the prophetic dreams that we had, Brian and I both, that were telling us what kind of rituals to do. Those really got me freaked out. Yeah, and we were always every year prompted to do something specific around Halloween. So that became an important part of our relationship with Baphomet. We always had to do a seance that night, and then we were usually prompted to do some kind of ritual that night too.
Tracy, if I may, when I got to the last page of Clock Shavings and I read the part about Brian having died, first and foremost, I want to say I'm very sorry for your loss.
Thanks.
But you're welcome. And I want to ask you this, and you don't have to answer if you don't want, but I would like to ask you, do you feel that his death had anything to do with, say, the curse that you proclaimed that was put on you guys?
Maybe in some sense, because, if the curse is true, if it wasn't just some, manipulative entity trying to, make me blame all of my problems on something like that, which is possible entirely. But
sure.
Yeah.
I know it's a deep. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's just, people's problems pile up over time. And, obviously, the curse caused money problems and, money problems are a very significant part of people's lives. So, that definitely contributed to the things that contributed to his death. For sure, but I don't know.
I gotta say, it's very. I'm glad to hear you speak about this as logical as you are. You're being very, you're really, what I was expecting to hear somebody, say, well, it could have been definitely the curse, and there was a curse put on us, and that's why he died. But the way you're approaching it, I really respect it because you're looking at it from an open mind. As a writer, a researcher, and as a logical person. So I respect your answer on that, but I had to ask and see what you felt based on the book itself.
Well, I've also known Brian since we were 12, and so I know a lot about him. And there were things. There's a history to what happened that goes far beyond anything having to do with the Ouija board. So Anyway, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to open up any wounds or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you did mention him in the book, and I just did
Sure.
want to touch on it for a second.
I was going to bring that up, matter of fact, but I'm glad you did, Mike, and I'm glad, we don't really have to get too far into that, which is fine. But one thing I did want to ask you, Tracy, during the seances, you were talking with Baphomet and Cain. I believe the end times scenario was brought up. Can you describe a little bit about that for us?
Yeah, I think really that's what I was trying to describe at the end of the book that maybe Mike found confusing. But really, yes, for one thing, just the earliest messages we got about that were very much really in vein with what any Christian would tell you. That, Baphomet was very much identifying himself with the great beast in Revelation. And was saying that he was literally trying to, tempt men to sin, to disgrace themselves, to divorce themselves from God, and he was doing this in order to get revenge on God. And he described this whole game basically that he and God were playing with, mankind as the pawns basically. And the game is just to get us all on his side, I guess to get all of our souls. He said the goal was to see man lost in hell. Actually, those were the exact words. Oh. And
I have something to look forward to.
Well, it was
that
freaky.
Sounds
okay,
about right
we were shocked at the time because I guess we having talked to Baphomet so many times, we felt like we were friends with him really, and felt like there must be some sort of more nuanced way of viewing him rather than, just as the devil trying to trick men into going to hell. But that's what he actually told us. And then he, so we asked if we were going to go to hell and if we should look forward to it or not. And he said yes, and that there would be freedom for man in hell.
Oh.
And
freedom.
Yeah.
Baphomet's kind of a dick, it sounds like.
freedom from God's rule, it said.
Yeah.
So.
And the title Clock Shavings, I understand it basically means that one never wants to enter heaven. Is that how you feel, Tracy?
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, obviously, if you're given the chance to do one or the other, you would not want to go to hell, and you would prefer to go to heaven.
Correct.
Like,
yeah.
Are you scared at all that all this interaction with Baphomet and all this stuff might have done something to your immortal soul where you might be barred from the gates of heaven?
Sure. Yes. That does concern me, and I'm also concerned that.
Thanks for answering that honestly. Thanks for being honest about that. That's awesome.
Sure. Yeah. No. And I wonder too if it's just tainting my life because this last book I wrote also was about Baphomet, and that really was an assignment that I felt like I had for years, that I knew so much about Baphomet. I had to be the one to write the book about it finally, and no one ever really had before. So this is the first one, and it took so many years and so much effort. It was so difficult, and at this point, I just feel like I'm glad that it's over. And as I was researching the book, I found out it was very draining.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's key. That's an indication that that it is a curse, And then when I was researching, I found that several other authors who have had to deal with or tried to deal with this subject ended up going through bouts of bad luck and depression and things like that. Things that indicate, it's not something that's rewarding or easy or good for you as a writer, not good for your career necessarily. So, but at the same time, I felt like I had to do it. So I have done it now, and I hope that I don't know. I hope I can move forward from here,
Sure.
somehow.
Yeah.
Into a better future somehow.
I understand. Yeah.
May I ask a question? Tracy, for our audience, can you help us out here? Can you describe what the difference is, or if there is any difference between the Priory of Sion, and the Templars, and if they are connected or separated?
I don't know for sure. Now, I can tell you what Baphomet told us, if that means anything. Said that the modern Priory of Zion, the guys that are portrayed in books like Holy Blood, Holy Grail, Pierre Plantard, and people like that they are basically a joke. and
Really?
that they're dabbling. That he called them dabblers. Says that they're, messing around basically with things they don't understand.
Wow.
And that there were many priories of Zions, that there's several of these sort of, posure orders going, operating, pretending to be the priory of Zion, and any of them could be equally valid because they're all, useless. But he did sort of indicate that there was, there had been something at one time that was real and had a relationship with him. And then, so I would assume that probably was connected with the Templars, and it's probably that order of Sion that they talk about in Holy Blood, Holy Grail. They talk about a priory that was actually there in Jerusalem and, operated, contemporary with the Templars in their early beginnings. So,
all right.
yeah.
Just correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm right here. From what I've read a numerous amount of books on the Templars and the Priory of Sion. And from what I came up with, my interpretation is that the Templars were, at least when they first started out, were these monks who would, escort these, people who were on their way to the Holy Land. I mean, that's pretty much right on that end, right? But then the Priory of Sion, I understood as being a group of people who were protecting the bloodline of Jesus. But yet the Templars end up believing a different theory, that Jesus wasn't the Messiah and that John the Baptist was the true Messiah. See, that's what my confusion is, because I'm wondering if the Priory of Sion it believes the same thing as the Templars ended up believing, that there was no crucifixion and that Jesus and Mary Magdalene had a baby.
Well, there's really no evidence for either of those things. So
right.
The lore connecting the Priory of Zion and the bloodline to Jesus is mostly modern. There's lore about the Merovingian bloodline, having to do with their origins with some sort of fish creature called the Kinatar.
Right.
And there's sort of a tradition connecting them to some of the biblical families. But as far as this whole thing about Jesus and Mary Magdalene, a lot of that stuff is really just from this modern manifestation of the priory in the 20th century, and the literature that they deliberately deposited in the library, and then had journalists who were their friends refer to it so that it would become part of the established lore about their group. They started all of these rumors, is what I'm saying. Now, and then they started the rumors connected, and then those modern rumors connected them to the Templars, and then modern authors in the 1990s wrote books saying that the Templars had this theology having to do with John the Baptist, which is sort of, there's some sort of basis for them having adopting John as a special patron, and because that tradition seems to be carried on with Freemasons. But also they seem to have a lot more, the Templars seem to be a lot more interested in the Gospel of John, John the disciple, and the Johanngism that the Pope, for instance, accused them of adhering to was really this, it was this sort of Cathar heresy having to do with upholding the Gospel of John as being the only real scripture out of the Bible, and the rest of it, this was their theology, that the Gospel of John was the only important part of the Bible.
Right.
So it's all this stuff about, did they think that Jesus was crucified or not? There's no evidence about. It's not like they wrote a book and said that that's what they thought about the crucifixion. No one said that. So all of that stuff is really a projection from modern authors, and all you can tell is that they did sort of keep both of the Johns as special patrons, John the Baptist and John the Disciple.
Right, but even with the book Holy Grail, Holy Blood, Holy Grail, or do I have that backwards? Holy Grail, Holy Blood. Either way, I read that book too. I read it 10 years ago. Fascinating book. So
Holy Blood, Holy Grail. You're right.
Holy Blood, Holy Grail. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe you'll agree with me. That was sort of the start in these more modern times when the authors really did the research after finding that document that they did. that really brought them to believe such a theory. I mean, would you agree with me on that?
Well, I don't know. I had to try to find out what connected the Templars to John the Baptist and what their beliefs about him were for the Baphomet book that I just wrote. So I looked and looked for this stuff to see if there was anything to it. And I couldn't really find anything beyond the Templar revelation. And even which is, the book, I think, written in the 90s by Picknett and Prince. It's a good book.
Oh,
there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. But I went through it again, because I hadn't looked at it in a while. And, I mean, they don't really seal that case there about, believing that John was the real Christ. Because what's interesting is when you look into Ioannism, it all has to do with the word Ioannism is really a reference to a heretical point of view, having to do with this Gospel of John. So it has very little to do with John the Baptist. There's not a lot of history about that particular heresy. I suppose there's probably some origin to it, but I did not find anything really indicating that the Templars believed that per se. But that's not what Baphomet told us years ago. Now, Baphomet on the Ouija board told us all this very specific stuff about how the Baphomet skull that the Templars worshipped was really John the Baptist's head.
Right.
And that he said that there was a curse on the bloodline that we're talking about, the Merovingian bloodline, and the bloodline coming from Jesus. He adopted the whole Jesus and Mary theory. Baphomet totally backed that up at the time on the Ouija board.
Wow.
And said that John was communicating with him as a spirit, whatever Baphomet was before he got attached to the skull. And that Baphomet made a deal with John the Baptist to try to get him to interfere with the planned marriage between Jesus and Mary Magdalene.
That's right. That's right. Okay.
And then that John failed in that mission, and so that is why he got beheaded. This was all something arranged by Baphomet somehow magically. Wow. And then he went on to say that it was really Judas Iscariot who was crucified, and that he had arranged it and created a illusion to make people think they were sacrificing Jesus instead. Right. So all of this story, which is just, you could build a whole alternative religion around. I mean, it's just full of detail.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's so deep. Like, that's why I've been so fascinated. I've read so many books about, as I said, the Templars and the Merovingian dynasty and the Priory of Sion. And the book that you had written, the Merovingian Mythos, René's Le Chateau, I found fascinating because you were able to take everything that I had read, and so many of those books that you mentioned in your book, I had already read. So, but when you put them in there, you really open it up, and I enjoyed, Captain, shut up. I really enjoyed the way you put it together because it was so much more easier for me to understand. And it really, you really made a good sense of it. So I highly, for anybody out there who's listening, if you're interested in this subject and you want to read Tracy's books, I highly recommend her book, The Merovingian Mythos. It is just fascinating, and it puts everything together in one book where you can really get the gist of everything else that people like herself and myself have read about, and it's just so much more easier to understand. And I guess what I'm getting at with that, a follow up, is to say, with the Merovingian theory, it just seems so legitimate in my eyes. Like, when I read about this, it seems so logical. And the fact that the church tried to in fact, they did pretty much wipe them out, did they not?
You're talking about the Merovingians?
The Merovingians, yeah.
Yes, the church, colluded with other families to basically pass the crown on to someone else. So yeah, they definitely, extinguished they managed to dethrone them. Who knows about, all the claimants to the throne? There's people now who say that they're from this perfect bloodline going all the way back to the last effective Merovingian king who was Dagobert II. And, who knows if they're telling the truth or not, but, yeah, definitely, it seems like there was a conspiracy against this family at one time to deprive them of their rights.
Put it lightly.
And who knows why? I mean, it could have something to do with, them having the truth about Jesus. I mean, this whole subject has really opened up to me a lot since, 2004 when I wrote Merovingian Mythos. I mean, I know so much more now about, all sorts of things, including, the early history of the church and the Holy Roman Empire. And I don't know. I guess I know that we're probably running up against the clock here, so I don't want to get into another long lecture here. But basically, a lot of these texts that we think of as, the foundation scriptures for, Judeo-Christianity, a lot of them could be a lot newer than anyone has admitted, honestly. And it seems to me like more and more it's being revealed that, it's hard to prove the existence of these things into antiquity, that we can't prove, for instance, a lot of that a lot of this stuff is older than medieval times. So, that's another topic, and it's, something I'm working on now. But basically, I think that everything we think about the chronology of how Christianity developed could be totally wrong. And when you interpret it that way, if you consider that maybe paganism and Christianity actually coexisted a lot more than people realize, in fact, that they may have actually really been part of the same movement. In other words, you find all these churches that have Dionysian and Priapian relics inside of them, all these weird gargoyles and things like that. And it points more to a mystery cult, really, than what we think of as Christianity. There's quite a few of these dating supposedly to medieval times. And it looks like, what a lot of the Christians were doing during the so-called Dark Ages doesn't fit at all with what we think of as Christians. And, that
Right.
they're involved in sort of orgiastic rites.
Right.
And, I've wondered about this for a long time because I keep having to go through the chronological history of things. Every time I write a book, I have to go through the chronology of, I did it for the Merovingian bloodline, and I did it for money, and I just did it for the Baphomet concept. And every time I do this, I get stuck trying to understand how information got lost in the supposed Dark Ages and then found again later. And it really messes up things. It really messes stuff up.
Sure.
And so what's really interesting, I'm telling you, it just has never made any sense to me. I've always found it hard to believe that, they actually describe Athens and Rome having, weeds growing over them, that basically everything was destroyed at a certain point and there was no real civilization there. And I find that hard to believe. So, just to bring this back around to what we were talking about, a lot of what we think about as older religions might not be older, and Christianity might not be older, or, might not be as old as we think. And all of this stuff may have developed really at the same time, and that may explain why the symbols are so similar. People accuse the Christians of stealing symbols from ancient cultures.
From the pagans.
But it may very well be that a lot of these things that we think of as being ancient aren't. And that also early Christianity was a lot different than what we think of it. And I know that I probably provoked a lot of questions here, and I haven't really explained a lot. So I'll have to get into that at some future date. But
That's all right,
this is what my research is pointing at right now, and it's pretty exciting, actually. It's pretty interesting.
We'll have to bring you back for part 2 of this interview.
Definitely.
Okay.
But yes, since I know we are kind of running out of time, I did want to respect your wishes and the time. So I did have a few names. I kind of just wanted your opinion on a few of these names, such as Aleister Crowley. What's your opinion on him?
Well,
you do mention him a couple times in the book, Clock Shavings.
Yeah, I would say, his writings had a lot of influence on me when I was younger. And definitely when I first started to research about ritual magic and the occult, that was one of the sources I went to. And I had friends who were way into that kind of material. And, I went to some sort of, open to the public meetings for the OTO, but I never really got into it any deeper than that. And really, when I started to research Freemasonry more deeply and all the other things I've written about since then, I haven't found myself going back to the Crowley material much. It doesn't seem to shed any light on any of the things that I'm researching right now. So I guess that's all I can say. Right? I haven't spent a lot of time looking at Crowley since I was, in my early 20s, I would say.
What about this stuff about Aleister Crowley? He often referred to himself as the Beast. Have you gotten any information from Baphomet, from Cain, from intuition, from any source of what the Beast actually is?
Well, it's Baphomet. It's the same thing. I mean,
Right.
there's no doubt in my mind, Crowley was going through the same kind of thing that I was going through. He was divining information and being told about what his mission in life was. And, if I had been more gullible, or I suppose more interested in going that route, then maybe I would have been pulled along that route of thinking that I have some sort of, important role in the apocalypse or something. But instead, I was just more concentrating on writing nonfiction books and stuff like that. But I mean, I still got influenced to create a secret society with Baphomet as the head of it, which, goes along with my interests and my vanity and things that I was interested, things that I wanted to do at the time. But, Baphomet very much played up to those desires and was willing to not only go along with it, but he had his own ideas about, what I should do to create a secret society and what kind of rituals we should do. So I could see that, that's probably what happened to Crowley, and he just really took it a lot further than I ever would have. So,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he was talking to Baphomet, no doubt. And
Definitely.
Baphomet has referred to Crowleyan, catchphrases a few times. So I'm sure he still is, very much involved in the OTO as a patron.
Nice.
It sounds to me that you as a writer and a researcher have obviously moved on to bigger and greater things.
Yes.
Yeah, right, Michael? I mean, when she was younger, like a lot of people, they'll find one particular subject or person who they'll study and research on. And then it's obvious Tracy has a very big brain with a lot of stuff that she's, interested in, and she's moved on.
Definitely. That's kind of what I got from that. And moving on here, I'm not sure if you may or may not know, but we had Dr. Michael Aquino on the program. Any opinions on him?
Not too much. I have corresponded with him a few times. He was always nice to me, so I don't have anything to say other than that. Just
okay.
Yeah, I mean, cool. I at one point I had to write an article for a magazine about the claims about satanic ritual abuse and things like that, and so I asked him for an interview. He didn't accept an interview at the time, but he made a statement, and so I used the statement as a source for what I was writing. That's all.
Yeah. Temple of Set, for those who are curious.
What about the topic of, this is similar to my question about the beast. What about the Antichrist? Any information about the future and the Antichrist?
There's a follow-up question to that too.
I'm sorry. You're asking me about the messages I got from the Ouija board about the Antichrist? Is that what you're saying?
Anything, the messages or your personal opinion, anything that you have to say about that?
Well, the messages we got were that it was someone named Bert Russell. And
Russell
had already been born in the EU, and then he was going to rule America somehow, and America was going to have a king.
What a generic name, Bert Russell.
Bert Russell. I don't know. Yeah. It wasn't Bertrand Russell. I know that. It wasn't the philosopher.
And it wasn't.
I don't know.
It wasn't Kurt Russell.
Burt Reynolds.
Maybe they just accidentally wrote B instead of K. I don't know.
I have to tell you, Tracy, what he just brought up about the Antichrist and the fact that you wrote about that name, Burt, what the heck is Reynolds?
Mm-hmm.
Burt Russell.
Burt Russell. Thank you. I wrote the name down. I don't have it in front of me, but I had written it down, and I was ready to do research on it. I just never got to it, and I wanted to ask you about that. So I'm glad Daniel brought that question up. Okay.
That's funny. Another name here is Anton LaVey. Any opinion on him?
Well,
you don't like him, do you?
Yeah, I could feel that.
say,
I could feel that
read what you wrote
pause.
about him.
I felt that pause there, so I knew something was up.
I mean, as a piece of literature, I didn't find the book all that intriguing. So that's all I can say.
I think you called him a fool, did you not?
I don't remember. Okay. I don't remember exactly what I wrote, but it was probably derogatory.
It was very derogatory.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
We did get messages from, I think, Satan about him.
Oh,
We were
my
talking to
goodness.
Satan,
Oh,
and he
shit.
told us about what Anton was thinking, and
Wow.
never mind. I mean, you have to read the book, you know.
Yeah, I'm gonna have
did-
to get that. Yeah, this is just too interesting, and oh my goodness. One thing.
Tracy,
Go ahead, Daniel. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I'll just go real quick. I did hear you touch on this briefly on another program. I have to ask everybody about this. What do you have to say about aliens such as the reptilians? Do you believe that they're legitimate?
My inclination these days, I'm feeling more and more like we are living in a sort of simulation or, hallucination of some sort.
Like a Matrix?
So, yeah. So the way I view aliens and the spirits that I'm talking to on the Ouija board and pretty much anything that's unseen is just, it's what's ever on the outside of the box right now. So I don't know. I can't make a definitive statement again about aliens because I hardly even believe that other planets exist at this point. I mean, I don't think that's for real. I don't know what to believe about that, but it's like I can totally see. To me, it's more logical to believe that if there's aliens, that they're controlling everything. That we might be on their planet and not the other way around.
Very true.
Yeah. Good concept.
I think that because that's the kind of messages I get from scripture, and also just when you look at mythology and even everything that people write, all the stories that people come up with, we keep, I think, coming back to this idea. We're channeling this idea because it's what's really in the back of our minds. We're thinking this all the time subconsciously, that someone's watching us and we're in, some kind of enclosed system. They're watching us from the outside and everything in front of us is kind of fake somehow. And that's why, religious people in general, they tend to, denigrate the physical and say, the physical is just temporary. There's something else beyond that's bigger. It's because we really have this sense that there is something else.
I've heard you also mention, and something that I think that I believe and Michael might believe to an extent, but you mentioned that you think that we are actually in some sort of matrix.
Oh yeah, I definitely think I'm not lying. I think that's entirely likely. It's just my feeling. But what I started off at the beginning of this interview talking about how perfect the celestial mechanics are supposedly to create the effects we see on Earth. Again, I find that as a sign that, someone made this up, and, it could be just God's creation, or it could also be what it kind of feels like sometimes, which is it's just a little too perfect. It's got to be fiction somehow.
Yeah, I hear you.
Interesting.
Definitely.
Interesting theory.
Yes. So, Tracy, I just want to thank you for being here on the program. But before I do let you go, I did have just a question or two, and I've always wondered the origins of the tarot cards. Do you have any sort of lead, any kind of opinion how it originated?
Well, it came from playing cards. There were these playing cards that were, being used at courts, royal courts generally, to entertain people. And there was this game called Triumphs, and that sort of merged into the word trump, which is in that's the major arcana of the tarot. And then the minor arcana are all the, the numbered playing cards. So it started out with a 52 card deck, and, then the trumps got added, actually. So anyway, yeah, people used to do divination with playing cards, and then they kind of added on a bunch of other stuff to make it even more symbolic and in depth.
Yeah, I just always wanted to know where exactly it came from. It seems like no one really has an accurate answer on the actual location, the country where this originated from. Seems like everyone's kind of lost about that.
I think it was either Asia Minor or the Middle East. No,
I even heard people say that traveling gypsies were the ones who created tarot cards.
Yeah, that's what I remember hearing about.
Yeah, it's just really odd that no one really has a definitive answer for that one.
well,
I did have.
I was just going to say.
one. Go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say Tracy mentioned something in clock shavings that it may have come from China, or as I said, somewhere in Asia or the Middle East. No.
Well, yeah, there's a game that's sort of the origin of chess, and it also seems to have had an influence on the development of playing cards. And then that, of course, eventually became tarot.
The tarot, right.
So,
right.
And what's interesting is that these earlier board games were really a form of divination, too. And board games seem to start out as forms of divination, and then they turn into gambling. And then later on, you get just regular, people playing board games as a pastime. But originally, it was sort of a holy thing. And the connection between, that and gambling is kind of obvious, too, because, divination is based on chance in a way, and gambling is also.
Very interesting. And my last question was, during your seances now, do you ask Baphomet or Cain anything about any kind of current events, current politics, rather?
Yeah. I mean,
that's got to be interesting.
We've gotten some stuff. We were on the air a couple years ago on the Clyde Lewis show doing a live seance for Halloween. And we asked him about.
We gotta get you to do that for us here. My goodness.
Yeah.
Awesome.
One of the things we asked him about, I think, was Iraq, because there was something going on in Iraq at that time. Gosh. Anyway, so he talked about there being some kind of portal to hell that already was there in Iraq, and that it was going to open and scare. This is all part of building up to this apocalypse year that he was talking about, 2017. And he also told us that something about Freemasons plundering tombs. He said near Zarmu, and we found out that Zarmu is the name of some Babylonian god. So I guess that's some of the results of our recent seances. He also said that something was going to happen at Yellowstone Park.
Ah, okay.
And there's a volcano there.
Super volcano.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That could wipe us all out. Yeah, interesting.
So, not to interrupt you, Michael, but I got to say this. Now, I didn't hear the very beginning of this interview, but Tracy, are you still doing the seances and the Ouija board?
I guess you could say, yeah. I mean, it's been a few months, but it hasn't been that long. So, it's not easy for me. It's hard to find people to work with.
Oh, call me up anytime. I'll be there.
Well, okay. We can do that.
Anytime.
Right.
I would just be absolutely fascinated.
Yeah, I know. Speaking of which, I've never experimented with a Ouija board, but if I ever was, it would have to be with either Mike or Tracy. Definitely.
Tracy, I did want to ask about these shadow creatures or shadow beings, shadow people that you read so much on the internet about nowadays. Do you have any thoughts or opinion on them? Have you heard about the topic of shadow people?
I have. I don't really have a thought on it. Sorry.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So, Tracy, I want to thank you very much for being here and spending some of your time with us here. It's been quite an honor. Like I said in the beginning of the show, I kind of already knew this was going to be a great interview, and it has been. And I thank you once again.
Yeah, thank you, Tracy.
Thanks. All right. No problem. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. So, Tracy, go ahead and please feel free now to plug any kind of event or project that you are currently working on.
Well, right now I'm just selling my latest book, Baphomet, The Temple Mystery Unveiled, which you can find on Amazon. You can also get autographed copies if you want from my website, which is tracyrtwyman.com. And we are actually fundraising a little bit too, because I invested quite a lot of money in the research for this book. We had to do a translation from Latin, cost $1,000, and also I had to pay several $1,000s for photography and image rights from the British Museum because of some artifacts that we discovered are in their back rooms there, not on display, but in the back room. that are very important to the development of the idea of Baphomet. They're supposedly Templar artifacts. I'm not sure if they're authentic, but they have been claimed to be so in the past, and that the theories that were written about these artifacts were very developmental in the development of the idea of Baphomet. They were very influential. So it was really kind of important that we had to get these photographs in the book, but it cost me quite a lot of money. So I'm actually trying to raise some money just to sort of deflect those costs, because it's going to take a long time for book revenues to cover that. And in the meantime, I've got Barclays Bank calling me, asking me for money to pay for these photographs. So if anyone could help out, that'd be great.
Yeah, we got to get you funded here ASAP. Anyone out there listening, got to help Tracy out over here. Got to help her out. So,
Tracy, I just want to say once again that your books are fascinating, and I just finished reading the book today, Clock Shaving. So, and the one before that, the Merovingian dynasty, just fabulous. So thank you for coming on the show and getting an opportunity to let me chew your ear off and ask you questions.
Sure. It was a pleasure.
Awesome. Well, hopefully we get to touch base with you in the future.
Okay.
All right.
Have a good night, guys.
Take care, Tracy. Bye-bye.
Take care.
And
anyways, hi, welcome to episode 6 of the 6 of Swords podcast, a podcast about art, spirituality, and healing. Today is a very special episode to me, and I just want to say I've been looking forward to this for a long time now. A long time. Okay, so anyways.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be on the show, and I'm sorry that it took so long. I know you've been trying to schedule me for a few weeks here, so
I think we did fine. Yeah. So yeah, Tracy, you have been around in the esoteric, occult, alternative, blah 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 community, and a mover and a shaker for like decades now. And I don't mean a fine wine style decades. You have been around like what? When was Dagobert's Revenge?
That was, it started in 96, but really got going in 98. So it was like a late 90s, early 2000s phenomenon. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, you sound, whoa. You sound
That's
great.
me adjusting my microphone. Sorry,
you sound really good. And I think I sound good too.
Yeah, you sound great.
This is the sound of my voice. So yeah, I guess, that to summarize that would that be a good way to kind of say that was a good beginning for the mainstream career of Tracy Twyman in the occult wheelhouse area?
Yeah, the only thing I did before that was like I wrote for the college newspaper when I was at community college, and they paid me, so I kind of considered it a real job, and I edited the commentary section. I used to write like really long articles about conspiracy theories and stuff. It's kind of weird.
What were the things? What were the boogeymen that you were chasing back in those days?
I was just getting started because I was like a teenager at that point. So I was learning these things for the first time, and when I would learn them, I would tell everybody about it. So there was one article about the monetary system, and I don't know. The Timothy McVeigh Oklahoma bombing thing happened, and so I took that one apart. There was the Prozac conspiracy back then. Remember that all the killers were on Prozac? That was like brand new news back then. And so I remember cutting new ground with my article about that and getting actually the Scientologists came after me about that article, but not because they were pro Prozac, but because I had mentioned them in the article, but I dissed them at the point that I was mentioning them. I mean, they were against Prozac and the article was against Prozac, but like because I dissed them in the like 2 sentences that I wrote about how they were like suing people over it. Anyway, they came after us, and they actually showed up at the editor's house to try to convince him that he needed to run a retraction. It was really weird. Anyway, so I guess that was like the first time I was writing professionally, learning about the same subjects that I ended up writing about more, and also immediately getting attacked by certain groups. So it was that's same things that have been following me throughout my whole life.
It sounds like the same thing they say, like when I was younger, I cared a lot more about politics than I do at current right now. And it's the same thing they say, like if you're getting a rise out of the other side, or if they're getting, maybe you're saying something that's true. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've I guess always kind of been insensitive about what I say too, like not really diplomatic, not too I don't try to be offensive, but it's just like, maybe I'm just not aware of the dangers of pissing certain people off. So I've always had enemies of one sort or another, no matter what I'm doing. Strangely enough. But
well, I mean, there's all this thing about like life should be safe, and like I think there's a great Helen Keller quote, and she's basically talking about there's no such thing in life as safety naturally. In nature there's no such thing as safety, says Helen Keller, of all people, right? So I mean, like, she's aware that sometimes it's like, I think about it in frames of like a 12th house kind of thing, you know what I mean?
No.
In astrology, the house of hidden enemies and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you probably know more about that than I do, but tell me more.
It's surprising. Well, I mean, it's just basically like there's themes in everyone's life, archetypes that continually repeat. And, sometimes you go through a phase of more intense, it seems like in your life, like you've had like that experience, like you've just said, like, it's been happening, repeatedly, right? It's a theme. And some people's lives just have these things show up. And sometimes on a higher dimension, it has to do with the volatility and friction of the nature of your work, because it's so raw and pure. I'm not claiming validity for any one thing or other, but the way in which you do it is just so profound. It's real. You know what I mean? It's like, it's juicy. I'm trying to avoid that word. It's one of those words that's popping up everywhere these days, but all right, it memed its way in, but It's true.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
For sure. So anyways, I guess like let's move into the idea of people trying to be able to predict events. We saw a huge rise of that. Obviously, everyone knows 2012, but that's here and gone. I saw a big rise of that happening in 2015, right before they did that whole Jade Helm thing.
Oh yeah. Okay. Big rise in predictions, you're saying?
Yeah.
Attempts at predicting things, yeah.
Yeah. Catastrophization or otherwise. I was just wondering, like, in a general smear, like, what do you think about that? Since we've seen it so many times and you've seen it so many, I'm sure you've written about it. What do you think about people trying to do that? Is there room for that sometimes? And what, spread, let's go with that general topic.
Yeah, I think there's room for it for sure. And you kind of end up having to do it, but especially if you, I guess it creeps into conspiracy theories generally, just because the people that delve into that subject tend to have bleak outlooks, really, and are always expecting things to come to a head at some point. And it's also part of, covering religious subjects or metaphysical subjects and mythology, because there's always these stories of end times that always seem to be happening right now, but I think it's useful to try to predict things. And I don't know, people always end up predicting big movements, big changes from one year to the next, and the predictions aren't usually useless. It's just like, they're looking at the outlook. I think a good prophet who actually sees something real, what they're seeing is the outcome. And so it's hard sometimes for them to see or communicate the more gradual changes that happen to make these things occur. And also, of course, a lot of it ends up being symbolic, or ends up being representative of something else that kind of fulfills the prophecy without exactly being it to the letter.
Yeah, I understand. Like, I think a lot of people understand exactly how it manifests through other language. It's that green language that can you can say orange ball, but you might get an orange cone, and then maybe there's like a tennis ball stuck inside of it or something. It's a good way to put it, though, right? It's a simple example, but it shows that there's some laterality with how that can manifest itself.
And then there's the possibility of things changing. Like, you could have fates that don't actually get fulfilled, and who knows, maybe you could even have things that get changed retroactively.
See, now I find that fascinating
more and more. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a new thing. Like, can you and me just think about, like, let's fast forward for like 20 years, and we look back, we're like, okay, and so this is the time we talked about flat earth, and this is the time we talked about that. You get to see how freaking crazy we thought it was now. Oh my god. Anyways, yeah, so just things to look forward to, folks. But yeah, let's pull that a little forward. So we were talking about catastrophism, we were talking about what's the use of prophecy, and I mean, like, there's so many ways you could look at, like, how people use prophecy, like in a biblical sense, just strictly like as a book. They'd say that this guy said this, and hey, look, it happened, therefore there's some credence to the quality or the nature of, what I mean? And they become like action figurized almost. You feel me?
Sure.
And so then there's another way, I mean, of course, but I mean, like, I guess the important thing to do is to understand that, like, where there's a human nature that could have a possibility for a fearful interpretation, there should always be a suitable, structured system that is choosable, that is actually manifesting on all of the higher levels what is necessary to soothe and heal and then make flourish that human being. Do you see where I'm going with this, kind
of? Are you saying that prophecies, even the really bad, scary ones, you should be able to have some kind of optimistic interpretation of it? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I'm saying, like, okay, let's not even say yes or no to what, like, let's take what you said. There's a possibility that what you said, it could be true, right? That's one of many outcomes.
Okay.
So, like, in the case that it is, like, I would see, like, something like Revelations, definitely, as someone who's trying to give a very cool, it became Star Warsized, but it was someone's interpretation of some kind of entheogenic ascension through the what you might call interdimensional realms, where he experienced that we are actually eternal beings, and that's why it's at the end of the Bible, by the way. But I think that's the actual interpretation for that book. I don't know, what do you think?
I definitely think that the end and beginning of that story of creation, the history of humanity that's told in the canonized Bible, is one, infinite loop, and that those two things are connected, just like a Leviathan swallowing its tail, and that they're telling us about stepping out of, or what is the beginning and end of the current the time loop that we're in right now.
Hello, I am back.
Hey,
it's 5:55 here.
Oh wow.
How about that, huh? So you wanna get going again?
I do.
So
Sure.
talk about what do you think about, so we're hearing a lot of, like, flap about, UAVs and, like, people trying to rebrand UFOs and stuff like that. What do you think the entire, like, UFO phenomena really is?
Well, I tell you what, I've noticed that I don't know. Look, it's hard for me to tell because I feel like we all get isolated in our info bubbles online, you know?
Just what you
So-
think. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like, I'm qualifying the statement I'm about to make, which is like, in my sphere of people, hardly anyone talks about that shit unless they're just, I mean, almost nobody talks about it in terms of space people anymore. And the whole alien abduction thing, I haven't heard one of those stories in ages that I paid attention to. You know, maybe there's still people telling them, but it's just interesting that the whole thing seems to have taken on a different flavor, which I think really speaks to how subjective it is in interpretation in the first place. And then I've had the feeling for the longest time that much of the way it was presented, I would say from the 50s, you know, I guess 40s and 50s through the mid 90s, was just an extension of the Cold War, you know? So I think it was the two sides trying to make as many people in their population as possible, in every population, think that it was possible that they could have made a deal with good aliens, or that the enemy could have made a deal with bad aliens, or that was something at stake, you know? So that it's just, it gives them all sorts of useful psyops to use on both the domestic population and their enemy. And I think that it just outgrew its usefulness. The observation of sky phenomenon continues, and it's just getting weirder and weirder now, I think, because you have the element of undeniable aerial spraying that's putting these chemicals in the sky in almost every major city almost every day, that is very observable. This creates optical illusions and bizarre effects, you know, colors and the bending of the light to make things look misshapen. You know, I've seen it myself. I've specifically noticed it mostly over the last 2 or 3 years, I would say.
The sun.
And then there's the color of the sun change. This is really amazing to me. Like, I guess I didn't trust my own observation when I first noticed it and spoke it aloud to a few people, and then it took a long time really for me to find other people who were having the same observation. But once I did, you know, I realized that I wasn't alone. And then when I started talking a lot more, that made me braver to talk to more people that I knew in person about it. And I was really amazed to find almost none of them noticed it, but it was like they're just, what I'm seeing is they're not looking at all. And whatever you point out to them, they just kind of dismiss out of hand as, oh, whatever, you know, they haven't even constructed, I guess they don't have any box to put that information in, right? Like, nobody ever suggested to them before that someone had done something to change the color of the sun, or at least its appearance, you know?
Well, you know what it sounds a lot like too? It gets even more extreme when you can think about how the Mandela effect can manipulate everything.
I suppose it can. What do you think it is? What do you call that?
I like it. So, like, let's go there. I'm pretty sure that what we're dealing with is the true nature of human manifestation, which is largely consciousness connected, like think Sheldrake in a way, right? And I think what's happening is, on a higher level, whoever's a stronger dreamer, so to speak, is weaving something together. That's the best language I have. It's now changing it. It's like, nope, this is what it is. And that's the best language I have for it. It's I don't know if I'm leaning in I don't even want to say like, just I don't know, like just it's something manifestorial is the best way I can put it, Tracy. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, so do you think that human technology is doing something to generate this, or?
I mean, like, the first thing that we can jump to would be like the CERN related to, right. And that weird tarot deck that they had. So
what tarot? There's a CERN tarot deck.
Oh my God, you don't know? Okay.
No, tell me about it.
Dude, you're gonna flip your lid. This is not okay. So this is artists that they hired out of house. Like, I don't know, Rauschenberg comes to mind for some reason. It wasn't Rauschenberg, but that just put that in there because there's some vibe about that chaotic kind of like ickiness, kind of like mess going on with this. And so they hired this woman to go in house and create a tarot deck, like all the portraits, like Frida Harris or a Pixie style.
Yeah.
Make it based. So the Six of Swords is Martin Heidegger.
Oh.
It's a whole philosophy. It's all. This is why I like video for these things. It's a whole philosophy of cybernetics. The tarot deck is based around cybernetics.
Huh.
It's for CERN. And cybernetics are largely about, we know from like, the Minds of Men, Truth Stream Media, and, etc., Dark Journalist, etc., that it's largely about controlling a population through using, so you asked about technology, right? I think that circles back around to your question a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, so there's the idea that CERN is maybe, I guess, having something to do with generating power to make these transmutations happen. Like our minds are the ones doing it, but CERN is opening portals and generating power, or what? I mean, you tell me. I only barely dip my toes in this stuff because I know it'll just make me sound like a lunatic if I let myself get into it,
So you want me to take the hit for the team?
Yes,
Tracy?
please. You tell me what you know, and I can politely agree. I do consider myself a judge, and I will put my arm out and shield Tracy from the hit on this one. So Basques. We be the millennial kids around here, so we abbreviate everything. Basques. So you want me to explain basically like what? Like, just let me. What am I describing here? You don't have to describe anything.
No, I'm just refocus me here.
Refocus you. Well, that's a lot of responsibility to put on me.
No, really. Just what was the last thing? I swear to God, it's not that huge. If it is, then I need to re-understand proportionality. But yeah, no, just what.
It's not that huge, indeed.
What was it? What was the thing you were saying though? Just a second ago.
I totally forgot. So don't.
Cool.
Let's just let it go. I'm sorry. I spend like all day editing my podcast, so
I understand.
I hope that doesn't happen to you. But
no, I keep it really simple with mine. We just we basically talk about whatever we feel like, and then I edit out the silent parts. I put keep a very, very low need. You know what I mean? I just like to be able to talk with people about interesting things.
Is there someone else there with you?
No.
Okay. I thought I saw you like make it, communicating something to someone, but all right.
No, I'm just like embarrassed that I was like starting to like I was about to explain something and I'm like, yep, well, there it goes. The mind does that sometimes when you get focused on shiny other things to focus on.
Oh, maybe that's somehow what we were talking about.
That would be a trip.
I think in a way it was, but
our minds want to remember. Tracy's like, fuck it, we'll do it live. And I'm like, no, man, I think we got this.
I think we might have we might have edited that out from the future, right?
Nah, we don't need to edit anything up.
No, I'm saying like Mandela effect, like we edited out what we were about to say.
You just, because deja vu's now take on a whole new meaning.
Yes, like you're still gonna have to edit the interview, but it's like,
well,
how we won't even neither one of us would know what we were gonna say. So
well, I mean, frankly, it gives a whole argument to just kind of like not getting hung up on anything too seriously for too long, like whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Like it's like a very like thank you Mandela effect. You just prove Zen and Taoism very useful tools. Like yeah. No, you're right. Like see that's that one. So when you're 21, like stuff's chaotic, right? Like you're coming into the world. It's like holy crap. Like when you were 20, like were you like let's we don't have to stall around here too long, but was that a period of the Dragon Court for you around the 20s, early 20s, mid 20s?
Yeah. But again, Dragon Court is mainly people corresponding through email and phone calls about plans to do things that they never end up doing. So
I understand. No, that amazingly, that's a thing that happens with humans. The best laid plans are everyone butchers that quote, so I'm not going to either. But
well, but sometimes that is what happens. Like people just have clubs where they get together and they fantasize about what they'd like to be doing, and I think that's what that was mainly. Although there were some ideas that were propagated and some concepts that got put together during that time, which I think seemed to have had quite a bit of influence on Hollywood and popular fiction novels. There's quite a lot of that stuff that seems to have been influenced by the stuff Nick DeVere was putting out, and things that I added to it also. It seems to be a very powerful egregore, and I think that it's taken on a life of its own. I was thinking about that this morning, actually. I was just wondering if there's like a dog catcher for stray egregores, some way of getting them back in line. Because this one seems to have influenced quite a few things. Amazingly, I discovered that there's a connection between Dragon Court and Cicada 3301 today, and actually it was yesterday, and it was.
How possibly is there a connection
of people? The same people
really?
That I used to correspond with all the time. Yeah.
Fascinating.
So it's freaky to me, yeah. And those people in particular are ones whose names are popping up in the news again, or not the news, but the underground news now. Like they're dragging their names out again, and they were known to me during the Dragon Court days. So yeah, I think it's interesting. It's it continues the magic of the imaginative mystery that was the Dragon Court, whatever it was. I don't even know what it was, but at the same time, I don't dismiss it. Like it did have some power to it, and it still has some power. And even you could say like there's a ring of power that I still have that I never used in the first place, and is still sitting there in a box with me. And I don't know that I'll ever do anything with it, but I'm not going to give it to anyone else either. So I'll just leave it at that. But if you have more questions, I'm sorry for the long-winded answer, by the way. I just was thinking about the Dragon Court for some reason today, because of the stuff I discovered, whereas I haven't really thought about them in a long time. What'd you have to say about them? Nothing?
So
you were saying?
Well, there's a few ways to go with this. Frankly, one of the things was I was talking about like our early 20s, and I mentioned the ideas of Zen and Buddhism and Taoism being of useful, right? Like that's what we. And when I was about 21, I read the Tao Te Ching, and it completely like I swear to God that book must have saved my life. Like, whew, like something about that way of understanding reality really kind of gives you the understanding that it gives you control over the co-creative process, to make a long story short. But yeah, to your point about the Dragon Court, I only know basically what I've read off of like a website or two a long time ago. I know you had some kind of connection with Nicholas DeVere through that, and it was something to do with his claiming his royal blood connections to something. And I don't know, I can understand the appeal to a degree. It's definitely it definitely has a power, like you said. It can draw you in. So yeah, I can appreciate that.
I don't know. There might be there might be a hyperspace kingdom of Drakenberg somewhere that we don't see. You know, it might exist. I thought about it because I've talked about this idea that there's possibly more to this earthly realm here than we're seeing right now. That is just as real as the things we are seeing. We're just literally not seeing the other stuff on the side of the fence. And so, you know, I think it's possible that that's what he was talking about when he, you know, hinted that he had the right to create this other sovereignty somewhere, and that someday there would be a kingdom of Drakenberg. I mean, I'm not, again, yeah, I never took it that seriously in the first place, but I don't know, I never dismissed it completely either. And as far as are there hidden hyperspace kingdoms, I every day become more and more convinced that there are. So, and what I mean by that, hyperspace, I don't mean like you have to go through some kind of interdimensional portal necessarily to get to it, although that's possible. But really, I think it's hidden from us by optical illusions and restrictions on the physical space we're allowed to go to. So,
like, you can't see ultraviolet and infrared, but if you step that up, like, you know, at the end of a math equation, you can multiply something or you can times it by a power. Well, it's like taking the concept of ultraviolet and infrared and, you know, expanding it by the next power. Yeah. It's that level of reality manipulation and awareness. Are we talking about that? Something kind of like that, Tracy?
Yes. Well, maybe. I think there's certain states of consciousness in which you can become aware that these things exist.
Yeah, like you can tune into them.
Yeah, you can tune into their existence, and then it's like to actually see them. I think you need just the right events to occur, or
not just.
Yeah.
I mean, seeing them is like level one, though. I would imagine that you would try to train yourself so that you could be able to interact with that phase. I mean, it's wonderful to be a human, and I don't think that we should detract from that, you know, either. It's a wonderful gift to be a human being and explore the body and the life that we have and the world around us. And holy crap, there's jazz music. That's real. Holy shit. Also, there's all this other stuff too that is also worth exploration, especially for those of us who are obviously spiritual seekers, Gnostics, or occult minded or whatever, right? We want to know, and we want to, you know, see if we can, you know, just like as I pick up this coffee to drink it, I want to know if I can, you know, make something good happen here, or this, that, the other thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's also, like, you know, why people like us, you know, I was thinking how weird and like it is that it seems like this alternative field, it's like maybe a year or two ago, it was like really disparate. It seems like it's really kind of like, maybe it's just me, but it seems like a lot of things are coming together.
I think things are coming together, and that's why you see this attempt at creating political divides that's kind of pathetic.
Oh, I was thinking you were going to say like an attempt at like manipulating the Mandela, like I thought you were going to say like trying to like manipulate the realities of certain groups. I thought you were going to go right for the jugular.
Well, I mean isn't that always happening though? You're like,
I don't know. It's because like if we're getting closer, like in a clock store, how like certain clocks start to like tick in unison. You know what I mean?
This is a fact about clock stores that I did not know. So. Oh
yeah, well, clocks in general. Like if you have particular, and we're talking analog clocks, obviously, right? Yeah, it has to be basing itself off of a harmonic principle that, you know, has some vibratory resonance about it that actually manifests. So digital is out.
So this is like when all the girls in a dorm room start to have their periods
Menopause.
at the same time.
Wait, did I say, is that the right word? No, that's the old lady one, right?
That's when you stop bleeding. But
Yeah.
like, yeah. when
Well,
you-
I'm like that. No, my degree of like adulthood. That's the old lady one, right? I am mature. I swear to God, I'm not just a kid at heart. Anyways, it's and this is the Six of Swords with Tracy Twyman. I
Why
know. Go ahead.
No, what made you settle on that name, by the way?
Excuse?
Why is it called Six of Swords?
Good question. And in fact, I do have a theme that I do like. I ask you 6 questions, so we're going to jump on one of those after this. There's a couple of reasons, Tracy. One of them, I don't think I've ever explained this. So, yeah, good. You're the first one to ask about it. Basically, in the quick, really quick, bought a packet. I love Alice in Wonderland. That's an Alice poster up there. You can see barely the corner, but love Alice in Wonderland, like from the book to yada yada.
Thanks for filling it in, because I was really racking my brain trying to figure out what was going on there. I thought it was Egyptian, and then it looked like the Teletubbies, and it's all a little bit blurry on my screen.
Well, when you mix Egyptian with Teletubbies, something equals Alice in Wonderland. But so to basically make the long story short, I had bought an old tarot deck at an old actual bookstore. You know those. You remember what those are? And
I was at one the other day. Yeah.
Chilling. Yeah, some good ones do still exist, and let's keep that going. And so got this Alice in Wonderland deck, and I was like used to the pictures in the book, and I was like 14 or something, and I'm looking at these, like screaming at me, the images, and I don't know what to make of them, head nor hide or heel or whatever it is. And I basically put them away forever. And somehow around 2015, I think a lot of people started to kind of, something happened then. And a lot of us like-minded people started to kind of begin our awareness of ascent. And I basically, at that point, I started getting into tarot again, and I found it in my basement. And I was like, holy shit. So anyways, I had an old tarot deck. I basically fell in love with it. But this whole time, up until recent times, did not care about tarot. I didn't think tarot or astrology or anything was real until about a couple of years ago. So my whole point is, way back in those days, I was at one of my favorite magic stores. It's in Medway, Massachusetts. It's called the Enchanted Fox. It's my home magic store. And Rose, who runs the store, used to give me free tarot readings. Just I would be around there. I love the store. It's a magic store, so she's giving me readings. She would always give me readings. And it always would have swords in it, but it was always the Six of Swords. And eventually, and I thought this didn't help me believe that tarot wasn't real, because she would say, all right, Nathan Lee, if you work, you're going to be very successful, but you have to work really hard. And I would just think, oh, that's nice, blah, blah. But turns out that, as far as I can remember back, that message and the Six of Swords card both have an allegiance to the same archetypal meaning. So somehow it's been baked into my life story. I just kind of made it up as I went along when I chose the Six of Swords for the show, and chose to use all the other sixes as spin-off shows that have different focuses on them.
So you're saying it's a card that talks about how you have to work really hard. I know that it's a card that represents journey by water. So,
I mean, that's definitely one of the interpretations. If you look at like the Crowley, Thoth, Frida Harris deck, like there's no water on there, right? It's just a cross with a rose on it, the rose cross with 6 swords piercing the center in unison. So yeah, with a whole bunch of sacred geometry.
The Sea of Science
You did a kick-ass job with that. That was amazing. I love that.
Yeah. So what do you think about that? I mean, I think to me that explained what was going on in that card, which I didn't know much about before, but I felt like that was an explanation of it as what the journey by water really is. Through chaos. I thought that's what my interpretation.
Well, notice how they have like immediately what comes to mind. Like let's play in those waters, Tracy, so to say. They have a way of doing it. They have a safe, reliable, trustworthy way of doing it, right? It's going to take them where they need to be as long as they operate it the right way.
You're talking about the Yellow Submarine?
Talk about the Yellow Submarine.
Okay.
And just like the boat in the water on the Rider-Waite Smith deck, right?
You know what? When I saw that one, I thought it looked like, I couldn't tell if they were safe or not, because I thought it looked like maybe, some woman and child being like kidnapped after the husband got killed or something, like after a war, a village got invaded or something. I had no idea. It didn't look happy. It looks like a very sad depiction of people being ferried away from their home, and looks like they're downcast. I can't remember if they're actually crying or what. I think someone's blindfolded, right?
I think a large point of that, yeah, they look like hunched over and huddled, and in that one, and I think the Morgan Greer has the same one. They're more pronouncedly hunched over and covered in cloaks in the Morgan Greer version. But there's a strong rower rowing them away, so he's obviously not kidnapping them. They're not fighting back. It's a lot of the part of that aspect of it is the worst parts like all over with. Right now we're journeying into better waters.
Okay.
So like basically one of the things that I like about bringing this archetype into because now it's like a thing that I'm kind of fused into Six of Swords, and Six of Swords is fused into me, and I kind of like that, I guess. And the idea is that it's taking on that idea of those sixes archetypes into my being so that I can more readily manifest them.
And what are those sixes archetypes again?
Do you remember that the Six of Pentacles is material success, or it's material success, basically. Basically, pleasure is the Six of Cups, and the Six of Wands is victory, and the Six of it's science, or can be just success or earned success, or success after a struggle.
Okay.
Those are the four sixes, right? So anyways,
okay.
Did you know those?
No, not off the top of my head, so no. I haven't memorized the meanings of each tarot card. There's just a few that I ended up focusing on for one reason or another. Yeah.
Yep, I understand. Well, yeah, but you did a great job with this. I mean, you killed it. They obviously had people who knew about, tarot, and had the Thoth deck, and they might have been inspired and said, hey, that yellow cross looks a lot like a submarine. Let's build that in. It could have gone that way. It could have gone, you know what I mean?
I don't know how it went, but yeah, it definitely went. It was somehow connected. I have no.
Yeah, it absolutely is, without a doubt. So I want to ask you one of the 6 questions that we got. So this is numero uno. This is an easy one. This is a softball. I want you to kill this one. Favorite author? Who is it?
Favorite author? You want me to kill it? Like I should actually have an answer. Weird. No, I don't. I mean, Robert Graves springs to mind is the first one to come into my mind, but I don't know that that's the real answer.
Because there's so many other good ones out there, and sometimes there's just good books without authors, but you still love the book.
I guess, I never even thought of it. It's been a long time since I've even picked. I've never had to fill out a form like that in a long time. Like what's your favorite color and what's your favorite band?
But you know what I found throughout my life, because this has just been a small joy of mine. People secretly, or sometimes very not so secretly, and obviously, they love these things. There's something about them that people like answering. If they're in a relaxed enough space and, there's time to do it, and whatever, this, that, the other thing, people tend to enjoy that kind of thing,
Oh, yeah, yeah. I think, I'm sure I would decide on something eventually if I was filling out a form.
So am I coming through clear still? This is good?
Oh, yeah.
All right, great. I just hit my mic button with my thumb, wanted to make sure. You know what I mean?
What's the lapel pin you're wearing?
This is all right, we're going question for question now. I'm sorry if I can't really get it that close to them. It's a baseball field with a square and compass on it, and it says Master Mason Rookie Award.
Ah, okay.
So I won a Master Mason Rookie Award for completing a certain amount of events within my first year of being a Master Mason.
Did it have anything to do with baseball?
I fixed like 7 games. No, I'm just kidding.
Do they have a softball team or what? I mean, what's the baseball
Oh my God,
thing?
that's a good idea. Softball is actually. Yeah, I'd rather baseball, honestly.
Yeah,
though.
right.
Yeah. You dig it. So, but anyways, no, it's not actually. There's no. I don't think there's. Nothing. I haven't seen any actual baseball thing yet. Although there's a Scottish Rite is doing an upcoming event where there's like some baseball tickets I should try to get on. But yeah, Red Sox. I haven't been to the Red Sox in ages. But it's not really sports ball is not really my thing usually. I don't know about you.
No, I'm not really into it either. So yeah.
There's a lot to do, and you know what I mean. Yeah.
No, I was offered Trailblazers tickets.
Cool.
This is a few months ago, but it's like I turned them down because I'm not gonna go all the way over to Portland just look at something that I wouldn't even look at for free on TV.
And
so
think of all this. Think of all the traffic going in, and think of all like it's just gonna be a loud wreck. Yeah.
Look, I mean, I tend to usually I usually do not drive myself, right? Sometimes I used to, like when I was younger, but I don't drive now.
Cool.
And so anyway, I'm usually on public transportation, and some of the worst experiences of my life have come because of the trains going past the basketball stadium just when the basketball game ends, and all the people that get on anyway.
I feel you. I feel you. Did you ever have anyone vomit all over the car?
No.
The reason I asked that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Huh?
Yeah, go ahead. Tell me about the vomit on the car.
It's only because it's recent, Tracy. It's not something I was coming back like last. Gosh, how familiar are you with? Speaking of authors, how familiar are you with Graham Hancock's work?
Maybe 2 books that I read like over 20 years ago, I would say.
For sure. But you understand his general, way of seeing the world, and you're aware that Joe Rogan's had him on, and is that the other thing?
Yeah, we've had some words too. Like he put me as the author of the month on his website at one point. So that's cool.
Radical.
Yeah, so I like his work for sure. Go ahead.
It just goes to show that he has good taste. I can literally. I mean that with my heart. I really do. He's a real guy. That's what So where I'm going with this. How does this connect to vomit?
Yeah, please. Don't.
It's not his fault. He has nothing to do with it. It has to do with my coming back from. So okay, Thursday night and then Saturday night. Thursday, I got to meet him in Burlington, Massachusetts at Barnes & Noble. I got his new book, America Before, which has an extra chapter in it if you buy it at Barnes & Noble. And after waiting for a while and having cool synchronicities and blah, 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 I end up meeting him, and it was just a real great time. I said, I'm going to adopt you. You're my grandpa. And he totally went with it. Everyone was like laughing. It was a good time. So I come back from that. I was like, damn, that was good. I'm glad I did that. When I got to see him Saturday night at the Dark Journalist event, I was just able to kind of relax. There's no need to you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So it was nice and easy.
Hey, I'm sorry. I need to interrupt for a minute. I think I hear my kid calling me.
Sure. I feel like you should. Yeah.
Let me just go check. I'll be right
back. Do you need like 5 minutes or?
Well, let me just check and see what's going on. I'll be hopefully right back. Okay. There was a toy that something got stuck in, but I'm going to work on it afterwards.
Like, okay. Momhood is totally fucking important. So kudos to you for being cool about it.
Well, you don't know if it's like a broken ankle or
true
another type of tragedy, and I guess that's what it was.
Well, right on. Just like, and we're gonna obviously cut out that little bit. So before we jump back into this paper, yeah, like. It's total, no, we'll just, this is good for the interview, whatever. So we'll jump back in. All right. So, obviously synchronicity is a huge part of what we do. And it's somehow part of the way that we work with whatever it is that we're doing. If it's synchromysticism or if it's just trying to make something happen in the world, right? Mm-hmm. Synchronicity, right? It's kind of like a telltale sign of something to pay attention to sometimes, right?
That's what I hope for, and when I notice it, I definitely choose to interpret it that way. It's a message to me, and it's a message to anybody really who notices it, that this is something, it's pointing something out, you know.
So Christopher Loring Knowles is one of the types of people who really has got this down in a big way.
Yeah.
And he focuses on Liz Fraser of the Cocteau Twins.
Right.
Do you know that you have a birthday the day before Liz Fraser's?
Well, I guess I did not know that. Which maybe you should edit this out, because like now I'm revealing I should have known that. It's something I should have known. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, it's not really a big deal. I mean, honestly, I'll say this too. I'll make it even. I'll put more skin in the game. My mom's birthday is your birthday.
Sure. Yeah, you've told me that, I think.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. And now we're talking, so I can throw it out there. And my girlfriend's birthday is the same day as Liz Fraser's day.
And then there's Johannes Goethe. I think that's an important one.
Shit.
Yeah.
Really?
August 28th, yeah.
All right, Mom, I'm sorry for telling this story, but so when my mom was a kid in grade school, and Goethe was a Freemason like me, and I love, at least, not like I've read everything he's done, but like I'm super into a lot of his way of seeing. His worldview is very charismatic and heroic, and kind of like, obviously he's German, and it's a classical German, so he's very stern, and I like that. There's something, I like that Saturnian quality sometimes.
Yeah.
And so my mom was in grade school, and she's telling me this, and I'm like, Mom, yeah, I like Goethe. And she goes, oh, when I was in school, I was called on to quote him or read him, and I said, oh, I haven't heard of Goethe. I'm like, oh, Mom, because apparently the whole class is like, ha ha. Anyways, I love you, Mom.
Is that the whole story?
That was it. She mispronounced Goethe. That was telling the story.
Right.
I wasn't sure. You don't have to laugh. It was just an anecdote.
All right. So okay then.
I mean, now that you've laughed, maybe she'll feel. I don't. Maybe I should. Anyways, no, it's good.
No. I was just okay. I wasn't. Am I overreacting? No, I was laughing at the fact that because I thought there was more to the story. Is really.
No, I think it was all circling back around to how Goethe was relevant to, it's not like it's. So we were talking about birthdays, and then the same person with the same birthday as you happens to have a Goethe anecdote, not a Marlowe, not a Chaucer, yada 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 yada.
Sure. Okay.
That was that's why there's not more to it. That was it in itself in a way.
Sure. No, I'm not saying it isn't a worthy story. I'm saying I'm laughing at myself for not comprehending when the story was over.
Oh my God, no. Now, dude, I think you and I have this amazing. This may or may not be a thing. I think you and I have this amazing ability to have such a powerful thought pattern, if you will, like the way that you think can infect other minds easily. So people kind of follow your logic, even if it's not necessarily going somewhere that ends up being, because we all, sometimes shit happens and we go on we weren't right and whatever. But it's very easy for people to follow that, if you get what I'm saying. And it's like they can go along until you're like, wait, what? And then they're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I understand that. Now I'm very straightforward with people. You understand? Like we're gonna do this in a softer way. You're probably not. You don't want to talk about all of your zodiac and stuff like that, right?
Oh, you mean like down to the minute and the location and stuff?
General stuff like. Okay. Do you know your rising sign?
No, I mean, look, I haven't. No, here's what I know about this, and it's interesting that you bring it up because, again, this is something that that came to me this morning while I was not willing to get out of bed, just sitting there.
Oh, I love that moments, though. Those are good moments. They're always supposed to be more productive, but they're still warm. Anyways.
No, I was thinking about all the times, and there have been several, where I was trying to basically apply for something, or I was trying to join a endeavor that was already happening. So the first example is a job that I applied for, and then there's other examples that are essentially similar, more like gigs that I was trying to get, where the participants considered me and then ultimately turned me down. And I think it was because they looked at my natal chart.
Really?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
The first time I think I know that that's why, because that was the only thing on the application.
What?
Because it was I was trying to get a job at a bookstore in Denver, an occult bookstore.
Cool, man.
And so the only thing on the application is what is your birth date and the time and the location.
That's pretty hip.
And they're like, well, we'll get back to you. But they were they had already, as soon as I wrote it down, like they were staring at me with evil eyes.
You shall not pass.
Yes. Oh man. So I definitely noticed that. And then I noticed it with other things that I tried to do.
Right on.
Whereas like, it seemed like we were going to do something together. And basically it wasn't like that everybody in the project was against me. Like I applied to something that nobody wanted me for. But it would be like one member would say, no, we can't do this. And I would realize after the fact that that person knew a lot about astrology. I myself do not know that much about astrology. And I don't know what it is about my natal chart that everybody's scared of, but there's something there.
But you don't know your rising sign, right?
Is that distinctive from, I mean, what does that mean?
Oh, so think about like how like the moon obviously has a place, the sun has a place. Where the horizon is when you're born, that's called the rising sign. And that's actually a bigger deal, Tracy, than the rest of the chart in a way. It's the one that rules over everything. So whoever the planet is that rules the zodiac sign of your rising sign, that's who's known as the Lord of the chart, for example. That's how big a deal the rising sign is.
Okay, so we're talking about Mercury, the ruler of Virgo,
or Gemini. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I knew that Mercury was like the guy in charge of that house. I'm a Virgo, so there you go.
But that's your sun sign.
That's the extent of what I know, pretty much.
But that's your sun sign or your rising sign.
Okay, so well, it's just I misunderstood the terminology, or I didn't want to.
It's all good.
So.
Dude, it's all good. We're just talking. It's whatever.
Yeah, I wish I knew more about astrology too, but also it's one of those things where I never knew what to believe about it, and I think I know more about it. I have more of a place to put it in my head now than I did before.
I'm nodding. I don't know if you can see me on the. Can you see me on the video screen?
Yeah, I see you.
Okay, so I try to nod. I mean, I feel like I'm a good active listener, so I nod. It's true. You know, I listen. Anyways, you can see me. This is good.
Yeah, you're active. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Talking with my hands and everything. Yeah. Above the boopy. Anyways, hey man, I just want to I don't want to make it a big thing. Just I think you really are talented. I just like I just wanted to say that. Like, since we're just shooting this shit and we're gonna jump back in a second, I just want to say that to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Like, for sure. It's just, it can be rough being human. Love is good. Just what it is. No big deal.
No, I eat it up. Thank you very much.
Dude. Okay, we're gonna jump into something. I got this. All right, I got a good one for us. All right. So tick, tick, tick. All right. So something that's been driving the population crazy the past few years. Game of Thrones.
Oh God.
I know. Have you participated in any watching of this?
No, I have not. I probably should have. The reason why I was like reacting the way I was, I had talked on a radio show before where someone called in and had a Game of Thrones comment, and I felt really relieved because the host also has not been watching it, which is something everybody expected him to do, but he hasn't been. And I was like, yeah, me too, because I realized like after the first season, well, this you really need to be watching this, and if I'm gonna pay my attention to something, then I'm gonna give it my full attention, and I know that I don't have what it takes for Game of Thrones at this time in my life.
Totally fair. And just to be cool, I'm not gonna throw any things out there for anyone. Yeah, I'm gonna, what do you call it? Spoiler neutral at the least. But yeah.
I always see. It's a good thing we're not talking about it because I always trample over those things too. So it's a good thing we're just gonna go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, it's cool. I feel you. Sometimes it's hard not to.
Well, you can't reveal your esoteric understanding of a TV show without telling them what happens, right?
That's very true. And that's a lot of times people are like in our circles are talking about it to like. So have you seen the OA?
No, I haven't. What is this thing? I don't watch TV very much at all.
I can show you later how to find a way to do that, and it's easy and legal and everything, blah blah blah. But anyways, it's called the OA, and there's 2 seasons of it now, and it's absolutely stunning. And I'll say you're gonna love it. It's gonna hit you right. This is a show that does it right. It's up there with Twin Peaks.
Okay,
You're
great.
Going a week of vault. It's my response.
What does OA stand for?
That's one of the things that you should wait and find out.
Oh my God.
I know.
Seriously? Okay.
Hey, see, I told you I'm very considerate about these things.
All right.
Life is too short to have good media ruined.
Okay.
Anyways, my pipe. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it usually doesn't ruin it for me. If you tell me the spoilers, that makes me want to actually see it, whereas I might not otherwise.
You are a diamond in the rough, good lady. You rock my you rock in my mind there because I'm not lots of people have it different ways. If it's something I'm not going to watch, you can tell me. But if it's something I'm going to watch, I want to go into it with as little knowledge as possible. That's kind of like because I like to absorb it. It's fun. It's fresh. It's like going into a little world or something, I guess. And I just want to be able to have my own interpretation the best I can without having some echoing, lingering remnants of a thought. That's where I'm coming from.
Sure. Okay. I can understand. I do that with reality though. But that's why I understand. I know what you're saying.
Yeah. I know what you mean about reality because you don't want someone else's filtered blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean?
Well, it's an issue really with my work because like people want me to be on the cutting edge of everything all the time. But I can't, obviously. I have to focus on things. And I prefer to do my best work to be able to contribute the thing that only I can contribute that other people can't do. I have to keep my mind fresh about certain things. So I try to use my intuition on like what not to expose myself to too early, So a lot of times... when you hear me come out about a certain topic, I will not have read the latest stuff about it on purpose while I'm writing, so, and I like being able to come out with what I thought. And then it's glorious to me to be able to find out, how to what extent, how right I was about like predicting how it would come out later. So it doesn't bother me. Like if someone says, oh, that came out 5 days ago before your article even came out, because I'm happy about that. Because while that was coming out, I was writing, and I didn't even know that had come out. And that tells me that I was on the right track.
It also says something about the importance of your authentic voice and your ability to have your voice unhindered, unimpeded, and unswayed.
Yeah.
And you can totally use like a slight analogy to a primal scream in a way. And it's just like, this is, I'm here and I view it this way and this is how it's going to be. And here's my contribution. I mean, it's very powerful. You got those fatties over there, Tracy? You got to pass that, man. Throw that really hard.
Well, this is... That way I'm not like just sitting here smoking cigarettes, which I'm not. I don't normally do, but I'm like I wish that I had cigarettes right now. So
are you when you do smoke, and I assume that you've had cigarettes in the past, because like, dude, they had us. I'll tell you what. Like when we were 17, they had us. I went to a school where we were allowed to smoke on the premises, so it was virtually impossible as a 17-year-old not to take up the art. And
wow.
Yeah, it was a bizarre. Yeah, dude. Huh?
I'm shocked they let you do that.
It was bizarre for sure. And so that was just part of the, we just had to like walk across like, I don't know, like 10 feet of parking lot. Anyways, and then we were over at the picnic tables and we were allowed. Anyways, that's very unique then. And so it was almost impossible not to. So I was wondering, like between you and me, like I like American Spirit, like a pouch. I can roll my own. I have my own tobacco papers that I like, Three Castles brand. So I was wondering, like, what kind of tobacco do you like?
I used to like Nat Sherman's, and I used to roll my own. I never really got into the habit. See, and I'm not into the habit at all. It's just right. I've had a weird day, and I've been ever since this interview began wishing I had a cigarette. So it's just, I don't know. Sometimes it's conducive to certain experiences, right? Is it? Do you find that?
When set and setting are correct, yeah. I think that's kind of what you're saying. Maybe you want some coffee with that cigarette.
Well, yeah. Anyway, I'm not really that much into cigarettes. I just, for some reason, I literally, when the interview started, I thought I was going to go down the hall and find a pack of cigarettes that belongs to someone else that I was going to be able to pilfer from, but it's not there where I expected.
That's adorable.
So it's kind of annoying.
I can see you like scurry up upon them. You're like looking around. No one's there. Okay, now you have cigarettes.
Yeah, but it wasn't possible because the pack was not there where I expected it to be.
No one left you say. So when this started, when we began talking.
Yeah, well, it's like because I had to snap out of I've been like knee deep in all sorts of weird research crap this morning, and look, it affects you. You get sucked into a rabbit hole. And
I think you just coined a phrase. I think people are going to start using that.
Well, I did not coin a phrase, but I'm just making a joke. Anyway, so I don't know if this is, I guess this is considered now a type of social anxiety, to not be as easy about transitioning from one thing to another, and not, you're supposed to be like talking to people all day long and responding to them immediately through various different methods as they might want to contact you according to what's convenient to them. And anyway, it's like, it's overwhelming for me, and I can't believe that this is normal, but apparently it is. And so I guess I'm just dysfunctional because I can't get along with it, but I can't.
I don't think you're dysfunctional whatsoever. The electronic medium and the electronic reality around us it's a super new thing, like historically speaking, at least in this grand cosmological cycle of things happening.
Yeah, exactly. It feels really unnatural.
The psychic shock. Yeah, that's why I play in my first, speaking of Alice in Wonderland, my guitar, her name is Alice. And I play an acoustic guitar because I like the natural. I can feel what I'm doing. It's a real thing. It's not a robot. You know what I mean?
What genre of music do you produce?
It's hard to pin down, but it's some kind of aggressive bossa novan folk metal. How's that?
Bossa novan folk metal. Okay. Some kind of bizarre.
Just some kind. Tracy Twyman shout out on my some kind of bizarre. I listened once and now I can see different colors. Anyways, it has to come with a sticker on the album that says "Warning: This album will initiate you." Anyways,
wow. A lot of things should come with that warning, actually.
Jesus, don't you know it though? Well, it depends on what level of, because like it goes back to what we're all saying about how our filter really matters. And if you give someone with the wrong filter the right info, it could go the wrong way anyways.
Well, I think, okay, so anciently that was supposedly considered disastrous, but then you got to wonder, like, to who? Disastrous to who? And then now we're kind of, it's happening now just because it's unavoidable. Like everything that anyone wanted to keep secret is available to anyone who bothers to look for it. But I'm not sure. It's like each individual profane person discovering something is not disastrous. It's just like the fact that it's all a cacophony of noise that no individual has the time or resources to really work with. That's the problem. And that's the problem on every level of society, like, including like the intelligence agencies. They don't know what to do with all this data that they now have. Nor does anyone else.
To zoom back though, because that's all happening. Just because I can only do my little part, you know what I mean? I feel like, because we were just talking about how it's important to have like the ability to interpret data the right way, and how there's not necessarily one right way.
Yeah.
But maybe, and this is a big thing that I've been thinking about, because it's something that I'm working on, and it's to understand a way of communicating a set habit of behaviors that is a pan-humanistic, all applicable across any social culture, because it's rooted in maths and sacred geometries, the mystery schools, and even science and different kinds of like beats per minute, heart rate kind of things. But like, it's been on my mind how to communicate a way of living to people that would actually, express deep enough meaning about what it is that's going on in the reality from quote unquote mystery school angles, but just to communicate in a natural way, like a grandpa would in the old way. I don't know, not to oversimplify it, but that's basically one of the things that's been on my mind, Tracy. And so when we talk about the right way to see information, I mean, while there's no one right way, definitely one of the ways I think that would be helpful is not through the lens of fear, or just through the lens of knowing we can get through this. That's one tool. That's a gem in the,
Okay. So, I mean, is that the problem with everybody knowing stuff, is that that's the lens they tend to look at things through?
I'm guilty. I can only think of like so we tell stories so we can pass on ways of being to each other in that kind of way. So I can only think of like an example from my own life when like I way misinterpreted data that I was watching or reading online, and it made me like really physically upset, and really, has no real bearing on building myself as I want to build myself as a person, and, resources and helping others wise, productive living of as a whatever adult life this is kind of thing, being useful in society and all the nine, being spiritually evolving creature. Those episodes, if you will, I'm not going to say they have a detrimental effect, because, everything's useful to the growth, but it's not where you want to be. It's not a pretty picture. It's not something to do at a cocktail party.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, like, just those little factors build upon themselves is all I'm, So,
all right. Go ahead.
Just to finish up the idea about the lens, like I guess like my propagation of the idea would be, hopefully to communicate a way that, you can still come to your own conclusion, especially if you're, showing me proof that makes sense. And if I don't get it, then hey, it's not the end of the world. I just don't get it. It's not for me. It's stuff like that. I don't know. I think that's that would go a large way in everywhere. But I'm telling you, man, it's actually very, very doable if you just, start propagating that as a social norm, I think is the way to do it.
1 second, please, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Right.
Still recording, got about an hour left. It's Rosicrucian time.
Can you get me back on track here?
Surely. All right. So we were talking about filters and lenses, but why don't we shift topics? I have a few other questions. I think we did the first one at least, right? We did your author. And so I got another one for you. What did you dream about being when you were a girl? What was Big Tracy gonna be?
The whole writer thing was always there from about age 5 onward. So I guess by the time I could write words, and I don't know to what extent that was kind of pushed on me by others, you know. I think it was just because that certain ability was noted, so therefore everybody jumped on that, and I thought, well, that's cool because I like books, you know. And so and then all the other stuff about, you know, like producing different forms of media came when I was more of a teenager. And again, there was the same sort of thing where, like, you know, my dad told me, hey, there's the public access studio in our area, and you could just take a class and learn how to use the stuff, and then you could make a show, and wouldn't that be fun? And so I think I did that when I was 12 and got into that shit, and then ended up, for weird reasons, and this is a story in itself, but I didn't, just to preface the story, I didn't do anything wrong, but okay, this was even before the stuff I told you about with the Scientologists. I had some other weird stuff going on at high school, which I only stayed at for less than a year before I went to the community college instead. And there was a weird SRA flap there, and that I was, no, not SRA, because no one accused me of hurting. Well, okay, this is so weird, but I've written about it before, so it's not totally unknown, and I don't know how I ended up here. What was the question again?
Oh, just keep going with your line of thought. This is good. So there's a weird flap with...
There was a weird flap with the guy I ended up marrying. His parents, they had a sheep farm. Okay, I'm like 12 or 13 years old, and this guy and his family, they live like 3 houses down in this town that is semi-rural at the time. Now it's not, but they had a sheep farm, and I learned maybe 3 years after the fact that somebody snuck onto their property in the middle of the night and killed one of the sheep and strung its body parts around the barn in some weird ritual and put a bottle of Dial soap up its rectum. These are the details I heard. I laugh only because it's so bizarre. They apparently they developed this idea that there was a cult of satanic teenagers in the school, and that I was the high priestess of it. And so this was my first, I think this had a lot to do with me being interested in this stuff. Like I was sort of, I had a few books, you know, and I was into like goth music and stuff. And that's how I got the reputation for being witchy. But when I learned later in life that I was accused of this, I think that just sucked me in more to, you know, what I was already researching and thinking like, wow, I really need to know more about this. It was so fucking weird. They ended up like, they sent him to a mental hospital because they wanted to like wash his brain from all the Satan records, and which was just a bunch of like, you know, like Tones on Tail and Bauhaus and shit like that. And he had like some Beatles records, and it was so weird, man. One day he shows up at his house, and there's like these people from his parents' church there, and there's a bonfire with all of the records.
Oh
like,
no!
All of his like CDs and shit that, you know, you know, it was hard to find music back then. Like we would do these pilgrimages where we'd take an hour bus ride down to Portland, so we could go to 2nd Avenue Records and just see what they had.
Yep.
So
That's
he has
brutal.
all this shit like that. He's a fucking 13. We were 13, 14 years old at that point.
Oh my God, Jesus!
And we had the best taste in music, man. We had with the rarest shit, the stuff you would wonder, like, how did you even hear about that? We both had these great records, and his parents put them all in a fire, and they put him in a mental hospital, and they made up this weird story. And the only reason why I heard about it was like 3 years later, his grandma finally confessed all this shit to us because we were wondering what happened. What happened was, like, from my perspective, the school counselor called me in and said, "Is everything all right? There seems to be a problem. What's going on?" I was like, "I don't know what's going on, man. What?" And eventually they brought my parents in, and my parents were like, "Okay, this is weird. We're freaking out. Maybe you should just leave the school." And they didn't even tell them what I was accused of. They said, like, that there was something. They said I was probably in with a group of drug users.
Dude.
But they kept probing in a way that, like, my parents were like, "Okay, this is about something else," but they didn't know what. So they just pulled me out of school, and I ended up going to this community college instead. And for a while, like, I didn't talk to Brian, who was my friend there. That was their kid. That for some reason, I guess they didn't want him to have a girlfriend. I mean, what? Like, they wouldn't let him see me. There were these two other chicks that used to hang out with him all the time, and they wouldn't let him hang out with them. And, anyway, so it was just kind of amazing to me. Like, I saw how, like, scared people were of ideas. And then I learned about, and that's also how I really learned about the concept of these satanic, covens and conspiracies and shit. But
That makes me think of, dude, just to throw this out there, like, since we can do this and like Twin Peaks, it came all the way back around. How fucking strange is it to see Damien Hirst? Is that, I believe, the gentleman that's he was accused of murder and now he's out of jail and selling.
Oh, you mean Damien Eccles?
Thank you. I was talking about, mentioned the artist Damien Hirst. Yeah, Damien Eccles. Thank you. Yeah, well, this is said with all respect to everyone. Just isn't he the one who was accused of, like, doing all the satanic stuff, and then it turns out, now he's, been doing it throughout the whole, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know what to make of that. So, I mean, yeah, this thing happened to me, and it's like, okay, now I know that you could be falsely accused, which of course you can, and I wouldn't have even thought of any of this shit if it hadn't happened to me first.
right.
But then, I got into the subject, and it's not based on nothing.
Do you know what I'm saying, though? It's, like, so intense that, like, that was a real scare thing. And now someone who has been at the center of that is kind of, like, really,
Well, I mean, that guy is still, I don't fucking know what's going on with that, I mean, it became this cause celebre with these.
I think Johnny Depp was all up on that, right?
Oh, Johnny Depp's still all up on it, and that's
because he was helping them for a long time, right?
Oh yeah, and the guy from Pearl Jam was into it.
Eddie Vedder,
was all over it.
What about Sage Francis? Do you know the hip hop artist Sage Francis?
No.
Well, basically, he drops their name and as a reference, like he brings up, like, the old band Suicidal Tendencies, and he's like, the West Memphis 3 lost Paradise. Now it's what is it? No, it's Jesus. Now I was like, I'm not going to remember this right now. It's okay. Now it's Death Penalty versus Suicidal Tendencies. Yeah. Institutions making you think you're crazy is $1 billion industry. So yeah. I chopped a few parts out, but that's basically the gist of it.
I think it's a very strange story. I'm interested to know more about what William Ramsey has to say about it. I know that he's done a lot of work on that subject, and I want to look into it. I don't take anything for granted. Like, I would never really suggest that anyone has committed a crime because of whatever their beliefs were or weird artwork that they did. Or
yeah, no, we're definitely not doing that, right? Yeah.
So the fact
we didn't just do that. No, right? No. What I'm saying.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go.
I guess if I was Damien Eccles, I guess it's surprising that he would continue with his personality with no attempt to get parole, basically. No attempt to make himself more amenable to the process of getting out of jail. And you could either say, I guess he's a real diehard to his whatever belief system, but it's weird. I mean, because almost everybody, at least, cleans up for court. And it's bizarre that he denied doing the crime, and that was it. Like he didn't want to, I don't know. I guess if he really was just totally accused out of nowhere, which is what he says, then maybe there's just this righteous indignation that carried it through so that he decided he would be, dedicated to the same group of interests and beliefs that he had when he went into prison. But
like he would live out this role or something, like this archetype would rule his life.
I guess. I mean, that's the way you would have to look at it in order to see him as totally innocent and that it's not some kind of weird play.
I think the reason I connected it to you was that he was like, maybe he was falsely accused, and like what you're saying right now is like that imprinted in such a manner as now it's manifested as we see it.
Yes.
That's, I think, why I connected there are maths that I don't understand. I just do what the voices tell. Anyways, cough, cough, wink, wink.
Pardon me. I need to clear the stage here. Can you give me a few more minutes to finish up this interview, please? All right, thanks, man. We're back.
Cool. Yeah. Do you? Can we get this to go till about 8 and then zip that right there? Is that good for you? Or I'm not 8 your time. I mean 8 here, whatever that is. 5.
So like another 50 minutes, you're saying?
45. Oh yeah. 50, 45. Yeah. That okay?
Yeah. That is okay. Yes.
Great. Then,
there might be another break in the middle there.
You know what? I could always use one myself too. Well, like I said, like we've been doing, it's just easy going. But yeah, so that was the whole point about connecting that. But so we can keep moving forward because I do have more questions. Well, we're 2 so far, right? I did favorite author, and then I asked you, what was it? What was your dream when you were a girl? And it was being an author.
Oh yeah, is that how I got in talking about like the weird claims that my father-in-law made about me?
I believe it could have been like I think we circled around from there, and it's any good conversation circles around different things. So yeah, this is good. You know how it goes.
I was wondering what question prompted that. It must have come out of the depths of my soul there for some reason.
Well, I vibe. I like what this is a comfortable. I just like talking with you. That's that. There you go.
But yeah, I mean, as regards to Eccles, like his association with Johnny Depp is probably the darkest of all of his associations.
Some interesting stuff there, yeah. I'm not really that interested in the whole Depp thing or the Hunter S. Thompson connection, or even where that goes with, just to throw it out there, not to show that I know there's not stuff to look into, but just not my bag of Cheetos these days. You know what I mean? It's just got other things that are on my radar. But he definitely is friends with Depp, and it's not a surprise. Depp was, some people, there's a similar vibrational energy of getting attention from this and getting attention from that, and maybe there's a thing there. I don't know. It could be more. Could be, it could be anything. But so who is your favorite hero?
Well, guys, so I have to respond to each and every one of these with an actual answer, huh? Wow. Can I skip this one?
Give it a second. You'll think of someone cool.
Nah. Damn it. It's not that I haven't thought of someone cool. It's just I have a hard time.
Do the Robert Graves thing. Whoever's the first that comes to mind is just usually the easiest.
Nah. Because there's a lot of things coming to mind. So, and also it's like, I don't know. It's like sometimes I have a hard time deciding things like this. What is it, dear? What? Okay, don't worry about it, man. Wash your feet. It's okay. My God. Can we circle back around to that one? Maybe it'll come up in like the conversation with the other questions.
Yeah, we can circle back around.
It's
sure,
like in The Price is Right. Don't they have a game like that where you can like put that one till the end?
Well, yeah, it's going to be within the today sphere, but yeah, sure, we can.
If you know what I'm saying.
I'm amenable.
Okay. What's the next question?
I know. Now I have to be quick on my feet here.
Oh, I thought we had like because there was this thing about 6, right?
Oh, I do that. Yeah. Oh, but sometimes, anyways, cough, cough. Under the, you don't want to see how the horse is made, or whatever the phrase is.
How the horse is made.
Yeah. What is it? I was watching Tommy Boy this morning with my girlfriend. She's like, let's watch Tommy Boy, and I haven't seen him forever. And he does that quote about how he's like, I could show you a T-bone steak. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
Nope.
Oh, okay, it's cool. So, your next question is weirdest historical event. What's when you think of weird historical events, like what's the one that really that you like to think about, or that's the weirdest, or whatever?
I'm not going to say this was the weirdest historical event, but here's what comes to mind as this is a conversation my father and I had at one point before he died. What was the event that started the weirdness in our own lives' historical timeline? Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, are you asking me, or was that a rhetorical question?
No, this was something my father and I talked about at one point, and it became.
I'm going to be quiet now.
Conversation.
Okay, go ahead.
Where it was like, I mean, he's obviously lived, 23 years longer than me at that point. And we were talking about what we feel like we're living in weird times. Well, when did you know that the weirdness started? And that was the Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky situation. And it may seem so trite now because the weirdness is so magnified, but that's when there was a little crack in normie reality, where that was the sort of thing that was kind of inconceivable to us at the time. Here's what it was. Well, okay, to talk about cracks in reality, that was blatant gaslighting to a population that knew better and then was forced to accept some kind of weird in-between doublethink. And what the doublethink was, oh, okay, well, he did end up doing that, which is, a violation of trust. And he lied about it, which is another violation of trust. But that's normal. And it doesn't matter that the people in charge of government get away with that. And it was really unfair that someone did that to him. What's their motivation? They're bad. And just all this kind of these things that would never have occurred to anybody, any normal person before, were communicated and taught to us. It was a lesson in humility. And you don't have someone to represent you. Your government doesn't matter. Your opinion doesn't matter. Your standards don't matter. Oh, and by the way, if you observe reality and someone says to you the opposite, and you, through sheer force of will, force them to acknowledge known reality, then, then why, you'll be the bad guy in the end. And, it's okay for them to do that to you because they're special. And we never got over that. It was, I remember at the time that I guess this was at least to me, it was monumental. But it was, and so I assumed at that point when I felt that way, I was like, okay, well, this is what's, seems monumental to me in my generation. So it was important to me when I was talking to my father, who was 23 years older than me. And this was after the fact, after so many things had happened, including 9/11, Obama presidency, all, collapse of 2008, all of these sort of things. And we're looking back at when did the weirdness really start for us Americans from our perspective. And it was then. He agreed with me. In fact, I think he even said it before I did. So it was like, here's a guy who had lived through, JFK getting assassinated and all that shit. But this was when the weirdness started for him.
Yeah, that's really saying something.
And so, and he was not ever really willing to go as far as I was in terms of entertaining conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
And yet, he was the first one to introduce me, I think, to the concept, because he used to listen to radio shows that were outside the norm. Like he would listen to Rush Limbaugh in the morning, but by the time it turned into afternoon, there were all these other shows that came on, and one of which I ended up going on when I was 16 because of the Federal Reserve article that I wrote for the newspaper.
Yeah.
So it's like I was introduced to some really radical ideas, but they weren't really, I mean, what's radical about it? It was just like a literal description of what the Federal Reserve was and is. And nobody else was saying anything about that. And so I got exposed to that,
from the mouth of the babe. You got exposed to the fact that, so did you ever get like any retaliation for that or anything? Or is that just like whatever as a teenager talking or?
Oh, the Fed stuff? Oh, no, that was cool. Yeah. It was a good point in my career at that, it was nice to go on the radio and talk to like-minded people and realize that I wasn't fantasizing about this, that this was real,
Well, so, you mentioned chemtrails earlier, and I don't always aluminum, strontium, barium, what, but it's another one. It's just like, that's like beating your head against the wall. I don't know what could possibly be done right now. I'm not saying future, but I'm just like that, so yeah. It is good to talk to like-minded people because this, what I just said to you, just like those few utterances of vocal patterns, like that, other people, you know what I mean? So,
no, I don't really.
You don't know like how people would react if they didn't believe in chemtrails, and I just said that. They would freak out if you mentioned chemtrails. Is basically the point.
Oh well, there's people that don't believe in chemtrails because it's mostly like people believe in it, but just they think that that's okay. This is what I found.
I still see people who think that it's like a plane making gas. They don't believe that the government's spraying anything. And yeah, no, there's all sorts of people out there. But the point is this: it's refreshing to talk with people who get that shit. That's the whole schmagoigle I was going through with that.
Well, I think there's sort of a metaphysical question here about what are they hiding then, right? Because I mean, we can talk about the environmental effects and we can speculate about the reason why they are doing it, but at this point in my level of observation and correlating with what other people are noting, and we're talking about film documentary evidence, like it's hiding something in the sky. So what is that? And is it, asteroids that are coming to kill us, or is it some other type of phenomenon in the sky, which I guess kind of goes back to the space alien question in the beginning, or the UFO question. But, I do wonder, like, I'm not as concerned really about what the environmental effects of it are, because it's pretty obvious to me that there's someone putting a curtain over my eyes. So what the fuck are they hiding?
Yeah.
And I think that what are all the psychics of the world saying about that shit? What's the consensus of the people who think that they're sensitive and they know?
How much dark journalist do you watch? Because I think that
Very
your
little.
minds are pretty simpatico.
Very little so far, but not for any particular reason. So
One of them to start with that you would like is with Elena Freeland, and she does.
yeah,
Yeah, of course. And yeah, so you would dig the interviews. Daniel gets the higher dimensional aspects of this, and it's refreshing. So just throwing that out there. I only plug good media, which by the way, I don't know if you've ever heard of RX Only Picture Show.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, I just thought I should mention them. They're just throw some love, and then I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but you should check them out sometime. So moving forward, also, I just want to say, our mutual friend Jake. Now that we're doing that, it's just hi Jake. All right, 22 and all that. So moving forward, Tracy, did you ever read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Yeah, I
The
did.
book?
I read like probably 4 of the books in that series.
Oh, nice.
I think it felt like it was the end when I finished, but I don't know.
So the restaurant at the edge of the universe or something like that?
Yeah, I read that one. Okay, so yeah, I think I went through the whole set.
Cool, man.
There you go.
Well, right on. Yeah. Did you know Douglas Adams? His middle name was like N, so he was DNA, and he was really close friends with David Gilmour of Pink Floyd.
Nope.
Yeah, just throwing that out there.
What do you mean? What do you mean his name was in?
And his middle name was N. It began with an N, so his name formed a DNA.
Okay.
Douglas.
So the reason why I asked is because my deceased father's actual middle name, legally, was N, just the letter.
No shit. Well,
So that's why I asked.
That's the point in the the last time we talked with Miguel. That's when I picked up the tulpa. You just did that with that. Very good. You win this round, dear lady. Good job.
It wasn't really a prophecy though, or anything like that. It was just like some kind of pareidolia or whatever you call it.
Well, I mean, who knows if pareidolia is just trying too hard, and the natural thing is sync, and there's a little bit of it, and pareidolia is just making a bigger deal out of it than it should. I don't know. There's gonna be shades of the 40 and reality thing going on there. So
can you hear the karaoke in the background there?
Nope.
Good. All right.
Yep.
Proceed. Go ahead.
Can they hear us? Anyways, yeah. So I guess we should focus our ship a little bit. Our six of swords vessel. And I've asked you a couple of good ones, I hope, so far. This one's going to be another. I'm just asking this because, I don't know. I feel like it's another softball. How's that? What's all over? And maybe add this caveat. They say that some of the best music that we like throughout our lives we hear when we're in our teenage years. So maybe focus especially there. But Tracy Twyman, best band in the frickin' universe. Who's the best band?
Man. I like the legendary Pink Dots a lot. I'll say that. We can just go ahead and put that in the slot for now.
Very, very, very Tracy Twyman.
It's just in that you can just keep playing it, and you don't really want to go outside of the flavor. It's the kind of thing you can go on a binge with for sure, and it's very unique. Nobody else's sound is exactly like that. So
there's a hyperspace kingdom where their music is playing 24/7.
Well, I like the idea that the hyperspace kingdom is full of all of these heroes and beloved people from the past that actually just crossed over without having to taste the actual pain of death, kind of like Enoch. So You know, but he's the guy from Legendary Pink Dots, as far as I'm aware, is still alive. But I hope that he doesn't even have to die. Let's just put it that way.
That was
Edward
freaking
Caspel.
gorgeous. Huh?
Edward Caspel is the guy's name.
Okay.
The guy that does his, or did a lot of his album covers, is the guy that did a lot of the art that we've used on my books. So that's cool. He's the Jesse Pieper is the artist there. Which here's a word out to people who live in the Southwest. If you know where Jesse Pieper is now, I would love to contact him. I got disconnected from his phone, so we need more
shout out
for art. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. Maybe because of this it'll happen. That'd be very, very good.
It would, because see, okay, I cut off my Facebook, and I got disconnected from a lot of people, but I'm not willing to go back. And I still I still have a fan page, but there's so much stuff that happens to you with your individual page that it was a big move to delete it, and I don't want to go back. So
I deleted Facebook as well. We're both in the same club there. I got rid of it in 2014 and I haven't looked back.
Congratulations. Yeah.
I know. I feel like I'm
prescient.
Huh?
Very prescient, I said.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I'm a rare Pokemon or something, but anyways.
Or a rare Pepe.
I got to keep my listening audience to everyone. But yeah, that I did love that whole saga with Trump. You know, I mean, he had so much freaking magic around his the biggest thing to me was that he is Donald Trump. The Trump cards are Trump cards. He has towers. He was elected in 16. The 16's the tower. That's just something that I like. I like the flavor of that. I appreciate that.
Well, I think we're living in a mystery now. Like, we have no idea what's going on. And
no, it's true.
It would be really,
it's true.
I think the best thing to be is not a pawn, because you're definitely being played. And I don't know that that's even avoidable. But you don't want to be in the infantry. So that's what I'm trying to, I'd like to be a bishop or some kind of minister to the throne here. I don't like just, and what I mean by that is, like, not that I would, it's not like about selling out to the rulers or anything. It's just like, I don't want to just be told exactly what to do. I'd like to at least have a chance to evaluate the evidence of what's going on, but definitely we only have a little bit of information about it. And most people, I think, don't have a real perspective either. I think there's very few people who aren't being played here.
There's a lot of traps and filters and bread and circuses and all sorts of dramas and archetypes to keep people busy with not knowing themselves and not paying attention to other ways of understanding the very vast, complicated nature of the mechanizations and machinations of our reality. And to your point about bishops and queens and pawns and the game of life, I mean, the wheel, like the tarot wheel, turns all the time. Fortunes change, and I can't blame you for wanting to, as you know yourself to be, expressing your high priestess skill set in a way that is not just disregarded willy-nilly like a pawn's life would be, but has some bearing on the greater awareness of the general, at least within your realm of understanding, sphere of people who are digesting information. It's a long way of saying that you hope that you have an impact.
Yeah, and to not just be a sort of mindless player, I guess, really, which I think is the default position, and not that everybody wants that. It's just that you get beaten into that role, and and that's part of the challenge of life, I think, is that you have it's kind of well, there's your hero question. It's like, this is the heroic challenge to life, is you have to not be beaten down, in terms of everything you think and everything you do. Of course, the first thing is that, that's, you're going to be forced into that position, or they're going to try that. And really, this is what the game is all about. Like, obviously, when you play chess, you're the god, and you move the other players around, and you get to be king and queen and pawn and everything else. But when you're a player on the board and you realize it, what is your challenge then? And giving in is to being a pawn, to being, cannon fodder, or someone that's used to knock over other mindless players, is not anything that anyone would admit wanting. Most people don't want that.
Do you know how in the second Alice, so we mentioned my favorite book was Alice in Wonderland, and of course that goes without saying that I see Through the Looking Glass as a sister book, so it's the same books, and what is Alice trying to do in Through the Looking Glass but move from being a pawn
right
to a queen?
Yeah. And the queen can move anywhere pretty much.
And it's about, I think, into the short and the quick, just like I mentioned about Revelations, I think that one of the ways to interpret that is she's able to evolve her consciousness and herself and her self-control and her ability to understand and process information, and then to manipulate the reality around her, that, yeah, she can go in any direction. And I mean that like metaphysically.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, right?
It is. And I mean, there's got to be a reason why you're in a prison, that, for one thing, you have something that other people want to, or they find threatening. Those two or both. And then, anyway, yeah, it's just, that's basically it. It's like you're either just being milked for energy that would be useless otherwise, or also, in addition to that, that energy is a threat. So it really is. I don't believe in this whole thing of like you're born into some kind of role. So I think that the reason why we are humans and we can make a chessboard and play chess is because we can play that god role. None of us are god, but we can play that role.
But when you say a prison, like for who? Like all humans?
Well, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good Gnostic question, right?
It's a good Gnostic question, but it's a good reality question too. Like, okay.
Well, same difference, right?
Well, there's levels of it. Obviously, it's like it's a house with a lot of doors in it, right? And so we are in prison that other humans are the masters of, and then we are in prisons that other beings are the masters of.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, no, and that was our question way back in the beginning about interdimensionals and stuff like that too, which is huge.
Well, I mean, mostly, a lot of people are just satisfied with having their little realm. Well, they're basically satisfied if they can have what they want in their prison cell.
Oh yeah, you're talking about the like amused to death kind of thing.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that can't even have that. So you feel like you've achieved something if you have that. But
that's dark.
A lot of people either people that's easy for them, or people that achieve that and then don't get beyond that. A lot of times they just go mad really from the realization that there's nowhere else to go that they're willing to go, I think.
Well, that's like what they talk about, the definition of frustration, as far as like that energy goes. Like it's something that wants to go in a direction. So it's kind of like the opposite. It's kind of like a heat wanting to go, but it no longer has a reason to go. So instead of like with frustration where it explodes, this one tapers off and disappears.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, tapering off and disappearing is what you want to avoid, really.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it is better to burn out than it is to fade away. It's just, I've really enjoyed talking with you. You're fun to talk with.
Thank you. I mean, I'm sorry if I should have tried to meditate and come up with a with a theme for tonight or something, but I was just consumed with other things. So sorry about that.
I have a lot. Go ahead.
Here I am.
Hi. I have a lot of Pisces in my chart. That's my rising sign is Pisces rising. So I'm very in the go with the flow kind of like always like very spiritually connected is my way of doing things. So like I was kind of like I threw a couple of questions together, but I really just wanted to see like where we would go today. Just like and I like that kind of thing a lot. So I think it's gone very well.
I get along with Pisces really well generally, and actually tend to be the kind of people I can work with, you know, which is funny because I think you even mentioned that in an email, like there could be some work of us together.
It could happen. Yeah, well,
I mean work in the Masonic sense and everything.
Huh?
Not that I'm a Mason, but I mean like you know, work in both a very literal and transcendent way. So
I could have like the snappy repartee and say, but isn't that the only way to work? You know what I mean? But but yes, no, I think that's actually one of that's something that we're bringing to the table is that our actions have, I mean, I'm not even beginning to say what, but our actions do have consequences, and we should be conscious of how we treat other people and how we treat our planet and how we treat ourselves. And it's not like a preachy thing. It's not at all. It's just saying like, hey, let's just do this because it's a better way of doing it.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know. I just kind of started talking there. So, is there a microphone? Who gave this guy a microphone? Anyways, so
if there's something you would like me to do different with the planet, you just let me know and I'll try to accommodate.
Thank you, Tracy. I do have one last question, and I think it's kind of a cool one. This is gonna rock. Who's your most favorable spiritual figure / mythological figure? Or it could be a real person, like, you know, some people really like a Dale Carnegie. So so to just rephrase it, or to restate it, who's your most favorable or favorite spiritual figure?
Favorite spiritual figure. Look, I don't think we know jack about Jesus, which is funny because he's the guy that is obviously like, you know, everything is dedicated to him in our era. And I don't think we know anything. I don't think we know the slightest thing, which is, yeah, it should rub everyone the wrong way and make them think that I'm wrong. And I'm probably wrong, but I don't know what to be right about. It's just obvious like that there's a big cover up here and it's partial cloaking of mysteries intentionally by the, you know, wrapping it in parables, and then it's also partially people not wanting to, no, for all sorts of reasons, wanting to hide the truth, including the historical truth, wanting to hide guilt that they don't want to admit, and all sorts of things.
Well, there's also the archetype that is because Christ comes in the form of the man, right? It absorbs the human body archetype, which is so sacred, right? Like you could see the cross as being the human body. And so then it's kind of like overkill, no pun intended. Oh, that was a delicious pun. To have Jesus on the cross, it's overkill. But yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is that it's sapping the life out of one archetype in order to transfer the power onto another parable or narrative, which unfolds into a certain set of mechanizations manifesting in the realm. So we need a better computer program than putting off your salvation onto something that's external to a degree is one idea. It's just saying I was trying to approach it from some angle, but that was the gist of the kernel of the thought right there.
Well, I don't think we even know what we need to be saved from,
which is a whole other...
we don't have the fear that we need to have. I mean, we don't even know what we should be afraid of, but we're all, as you noted, in a state of fear and constantly projecting that on all sorts of things that don't really make sense.
I'm not usually in a state of fear myself, and if I get in one, I find a way to process through it and just be able to meet it, because Dune has it right with fear is the mind killer. Like it's a state of mind that it's not conducive to not it's what Tracy saying rational thinking is just so blasé, but it's not conducive to building a world that, you know, it's, you got to get over it first and then build something after that. And that's part of what we were talking about earlier, being builders in multiple ways, right? No time to build when you're freaking out.
Freaking out. Okay, there's a difference between fear and panic. Okay, if panic.
I'm also not saying panic. Yeah, but I'm saying, okay, let's dial it back from the freak. There's no time to focus on your work and do good work if your mind's elsewhere on certain topics, right?
I suppose. I mean, yeah, there's even the extreme process church view of just totally deifying fear as a edifying state of mind.
Whole rabbit hole there.
Yeah, well, look, that process church, very interesting subject, and I was even reading recently that fear of God is a specifically Christian concept that is kind of historically foreign in the terms that they tend to state it. So it's a new manifestation that, or more recent on the historical timeline.
That's dark.
What does it mean?
Well,
I mean, I have my own interpretations, but you and maybe you haven't thought of it, but like, what's the fear of God mean?
Well, you know what? I think that's one of the ways to understand the title of the song on the Tool album. When they say Fayap de Awad, right? Fayap, I mean, it does have a sense of fear about it. F-A and F-A, yeah. And all I'm saying is, it's just from a loose lateral thinking perspective, you can connect that, because the guy in the song's doing what? And I know we said we're not talking about panicking, we're talking about fear, but the guy in the song does amplify fear and happens to be kind of freaking out on the phone a bit. That name of the song is actually the voice of God, which is a type of technology that can,
Oh yeah, you're talking about the voice to head thing.
Yeah, voice to skull tech, and it's amazing that how prescient that song was to bring us back around to like talking about prophecy and where what's the role for it in our time. You know that of course Nathan is a prophet in the Bible, so that's true. I'm just throwing that out there. My name actually, when you take Nathan Lee. And you know how you can replace vowels in gematria with the other vowels. So the I-E-L and Nathaniel, or the E-E-L. My name still spells it. It just came out like in 2 words. It was weird. I figure you can understand what I'm saying, which is why I'm sharing with you. I don't usually talk about
that. Okay.
You just happen to understand gematria, right?
I do. I mean, or I can. It's one of the things I consider. When I don't know. I'm never sure about how important to think of some particular thing, but regarding the fear of God, what if you had the responsibility of being God, like even in the Gnostic demiurge sense? Like, what if you woke up and realized that that's what you were? Would it not be a scary thing to realize that you're the demiurge, or to realize everything about that position? Wouldn't that be a frightening realization that you would then shift away from, because it's too painful to look at? And you would always be coming up with lies because you wouldn't want to admit the truth.
You ever seen the movie The Nines?
No, I mean, I saw one that was like an animation with some little robots in it.
Which was done by a friend of Tim Burton's, right? Called Nine.
Okay, that's a different one.
And it has what they called stitch punks.
Yeah.
I love that. I saw that, Tracy, in theaters on 999.
Whoa.
Yeah. I do stuff like, actually, part of the ritual to create a cult fan, which a cult fan is created on 666, was I saw The Omen in the theaters on 666. That was part of the ritual.
How old were you?
22, I believe.
Okie doke.
So anywho, no woo around here ever, right? So anyways,
What was
yeah.
it? I'm gonna look through my notes here because I wrote something down about woo. I probably won't share it, but let's see if it's good enough.
I'm gonna tease you with this and not do it. No, but the whole idea, we were talking about nines and stuff like that. By the way, I would be remiss before we because we're gonna go in a few minutes, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention James Allen Egan while we were speaking.
Oh yes, the tower guy, of course. So
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, it's fine. No, I was looking for something. I like literally 5 minutes before we went to air, I wrote something down about like woo meaning some kind of acronym for something. So that's why I was trying to find it.
Like WOOWOO?
Yes.
It's an acronym?
No, I just came up with something that would be the acronym for. But I'll find it later.
Okay.
Anyway,
Okay.
yeah. Alan Egan. Well, I mean, so you actually met him in the flesh, right?
Yeah, we hung out for like the whole day. He's
the whole day
on the equinox day of all days.
So what can you tell me, man?
Dude, have you ever seen a camera obscura in real life?
Hell no.
Oh, fucking dude, you're gonna love it. It's an experience. It's so fun. It's wild. To see this natural phenomenon using nothing but a pinhole and some angles and light. It's just so delightful. It's really magical, you know. So he's just a really interesting dude because like that's where like the sense of wonder you get from like when we're talking about something like that, that's like his nucleus of like what he builds his life and day around. So he's just a joy to talk to. He's fun. He's lively. We talk about like energy moving forward and he's just doing his thing. I told him about my Holy Gift book, which I think I've talked about, but it's just the rearranging of a Tool album that tells what I understand to be I'm turning into a sacred text. It's the long and short. He was able to listen to that and he was into it. He got it. He's so cool. And we started talking about numbers and like what different numbers mean. So yeah, very, 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 very fun guy to talk to. And he gave me the tour and the grand tour. And then we got to see the sun going through the tower of the equinox the evening it was just so cool.
Amazing. Yeah. I'm glad that worked out so well. Yeah, I wish I could have been there, but maybe someday I'll get to have the same experience. And I've never even had the pleasure of looking through a like shoebox camera obscura, and I can't imagine what it's like to be inside one. So that's kind of cool.
Dude, he turns the whole room into one. It's just incredible. I was not, I knew that I was going to see something cool. Mm-hmm. I wasn't prepared for how much it thrilled me.
Okay.
Dude,
was
it's
it
just,
yeah.
Was
it's
it
just
like
being in a 3D show or something?
Say again?
Was it like being in a 3D movie theater?
Not
so much 3D.
Okay, so like, you know how like I was talking about I like acoustic guitar because it's natural or whatever. It's like the difference between that would be there's something synthetic about seeing the 3D where this was an effect that felt organic and real, and there was a different tactile felt on a spiritual whatever level. There was a different feeling from the actual camera obscura that I've gotten from like say an IMAX or a 3D movie or something like that. If that's a good way to put it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very enjoyable. You'll do it. It's obviously going to draw itself to you or you to it, vice versa, all that. So to wrap up, because we nailed those questions, and I love some of your answers because I don't know. It's just you have a, like you said, you have a perspective that no one else can offer, and I'm loving it. So, yeah. Is there anything? Because like you've written a whole bunch of books. Are there any books in the pipeline coming up?
There's a whole bunch, and really, the thing is, like, I'm not satisfied with the way I've been doing it so far, and I'm looking. I've got some strategies for how I'm going to publish them on my own, but if I met the right partner, I might also do it some other way. And the thing is, it's never been given justice. Like my books are being published and presented in the wrong way, and it's been going on for a while now. Like they need to be more accessible. They need proper editing. They need index and footnotes on the page, not on endnotes. All this is just basically stuff that I could either we may end up building our own way of doing this, or we may partner with someone who can help us do it faster. And that's basically the question. And the question is still open. There's people we have in mind, but we haven't actually formally asked anyone yet. Basically, we're almost about to, but I don't know what the result's going to be. It's just like I can tell that I've done a lot of important work in the past, and I've got probably about half a dozen books ready to go that have not even seen the light of day. So
what are some of the general topics, like, without, obviously discretion advised, but like, what are some of the topics that some of these potential 6 books might cover?
Well, okay, so there's the Hidden Hyperspace Kingdoms book, which is not done, but would be based upon the kind of stuff that's in the mega essay that's on plusultraclub.com. And you can also, if you want to look up Hidden Hyperspace Kingdoms, even just on YouTube, you can also go to plusultraclub.com. You'll see this, about maybe like 45-minute presentation that's just based on a part of that essay, which I could very easily turn into a book, really. And not only that, but that whole topic really needs to be explored a lot better. This is where we're talking about that in Masonic literature. Okay, and you can, as a Mason, of course, you can try to tell me I'm wrong, but I really think
I didn't say anything. You shot me before I could say hello.
I'm not shooting you, man. I'm saying, this is the disclaimer. It's like, you can have your opinion, or whoever can have their opinion. But it seems to me, when I look at these Masonic tracing boards, they're trying to show you that there are things to see with your eyes that you can't see except under special conditions. And they're not talking about something you have to die before you can see it. Or something that, you have to be in a special mind state and then it happens in your mind. We're talking about pretty much the same physical reality. It's just we can't see it, and therefore we don't know how to interact with it most of the time. And there's special conditions in which that happens. And I think that these Masonic images are hinting at something, and I can only guess, but I'm thinking that, like, maybe there's some Masons that know about this stuff. I'm assuming the majority of them do not, or else they wouldn't help but talk about it, So if all the Freemasons knew about this stuff, then everybody would know about it. Only a few of them know about it. But when you start looking at all these images that have been produced over the last 200 years, you see them talking about, like, a stone that you can look through to get a certain view, special light that will come through the temple window at a certain time of year that will allow you to see certain things. And the way I see it is just like actually just polarizing the light in a certain way that you can see it. It's not like this is some kind of again, it's not an imaginary thing that we have to, make metaphors about and meditate about. It's there. It's literally a matter of seeing it.
You're reminding me that's exactly why it's called, your website is called Plus Ultra, because there is more beyond.
Yeah. Oh, there's way more beyond. This is how I feel. Like, this is an instinct here, and it's the result of like 25 years of meddling with all sorts of weird shit and wanting to have a truthful outlook. So
I feel you. Yeah.
This is how I feel. Like, there's lots of shit beyond, and there's so much shit beyond that those that can see even a little bit of it don't want everybody to be able to see it all at once, because they realize, like, for one thing, you would freak out. For another thing, you don't know what to attack first. Also, you don't know where to go first for the things that you want. You could be presented with a plethora of conflicting images all at once if you were to see it, right? So that's why these things are revealed only in the right time, for one thing.
You can imagine that we're coming to you could imagine that we might be coming, that there could be that there's a possibility that there could be in a world a coming time where the population needed to suddenly, because of some kind of events beyond our current comprehension at this time, need to be stepped up in general so that they understand basic occult or metaphysical tenets and be able to survive in the paradigm that is coming, or in otherwise to make a certain choice and a way of living as not to, over the course of the incarnated human lifetime, maybe say plug their consciousness into something synthetic. That might be a kind of like thing that the mystery schools themselves might be used to battle. Is just an idea I'm throwing out as we close down in the wee hours of our conversation right now.
Well,
to counter CERN and all of that.
I really don't think that we need any kind of modern device in order to see this stuff, or else they wouldn't have been writing about it for hundreds of years. So
cheers. That's just sound thinking.
But yeah, one of the things that's hinted about in the obviously Masonically influenced National Treasure series is this idea of a set of glasses that can light in a certain way.
I was about to say, Tracy's about to mention the glasses.
The holy spectacles. Yeah. What is this? The Urim and Thummim?
What was that? The green and the red and the blue and stuff like that.
In the movie, yes, but I mean, I wonder if it even matches up to other things, right? What were you going to say? Sorry.
Did you say a Thummim?
I was talking about the Urim and Thummim that are mentioned without any kind of actual description of what they are in the Old Testament, and then the idea is expanded upon in Mormonism, where Joseph Smith said that he was able to read the golden tablets with the help of peepstones that he called the Urim and Thummim.
Gotcha.
So, the idea is basically that it's not, you don't need CERN, but not that couldn't be involved here, but it's like people have been able to see this shit. For one thing, I think you can see it with your naked eye on certain dates and times.
Yeah. That's why certain celestial dates and conditions are so important and revered.
And then, there's certain
also the aurora borealis and shit like that too, dude.
Yeah. Okay. So you can wait for certain dates. Also, on you can go to certain places in the world.
Yeah. Take certain mushrooms, plants.
And certain dates in certain places in the world is like really the ideal way of doing it.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I mean, seriously. Well, yeah. I think these are the secrets, like, about geography.
Yeah.
Like,
no doubt.
I feel doubt, and that's fine. I'm getting the vibe of doubt. No, I'm not saying, I'm not accusing you of anything.
Well, it's a turn of phrase too, but it's also like, Now we've analyzed the. So hold on, but the idea is that you're saying that going to these places at these certain times.
You see stuff that is actually physically there and not just a projection of someone's mind. It's real, and really, okay. So you could say this is a conspiracy theory, but I think that this is how we take the myths that we have and we give them some validity, and we say, hey, we respect you. Maybe there's something real you're trying to tell us. And then you look at the world you're living in and say, it can't possibly be a separate world. It's the same world. They're trying to tell us about our world. So there's hidden lands. Well, does that explain where the missing $1 trillion from the Pentagon goes? Does it go to the hidden land? And I'm not kidding. I'm absolutely not kidding.
I'm with you on that one. My response is a little slow, but no, I mean, like, the inner Earth idea. And we'll go for a few more minutes, and then maybe we'll slide into home plate.
All right, sorry.
It's all good. I enjoy this. We have much to talk about. Just for now, to finish up slowly, the idea is, like, I think that the concept of an inner Earth is quite I mean, hell, dude, I have barely been around this earth as much as I could. I don't know what's out there. You know what I mean? I'm still part of that. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot on this realm. I think that there's an interesting way to look at the word planet without getting into all of that, Tracy. I think there's an interesting way to look at the word planet where you have plane, like a place upon which things transpire, even like a chessboard. And then you have the T, which is that, as we discussed, one of the ways that the cross is looked at is as the human form. So, I mean, you have the plane of the manifested form of the human. You know what I mean? So that's why this is the planet. I don't know. What do you think of that idea for a second?
Yeah, I think we're in the human realm, that the most useful way of looking at these things is realms stacked on one another, like in a cake, and that's really the kind of language that ancient people always used, and up until relatively modern times we still use it. The plane of existence. What the fuck do you mean?
Yep.
Oh, there's no way to like reconcile that with the way that astrophysics likes to describe things, but it's yeah.
I had the craziest thought the other day about how Neil deGrasse Tyson talked about the world being pear-shaped.
I do.
So if you compare, like, let's just say, like, I don't know, a map of the Earth and maybe a map of the stars, and then you kind of like put one next to each other and put the other one next to each other, and they form like a figure 8. I don't know, something about that looks like a pear shape to me, for one thing. But that's just one idea.
Yeah. I think that we're all just seeing pieces of reality here, and I think it's known even that like things will take on different shapes if you observe them through different lenses. So
it's so crazy. It's so crazy. It's okay. Okay, Tracy. I guess. Well, I don't have to guess this. This has been lovely. I really have enjoyed talking with you. It's just
Thank you.
I keep saying it, but it's well, good. It's fun to talk with you. I keep saying it, but it's true. So there you have it. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with people besides that we can find you many Wednesdays with our friends over at the RX Picture Show? We have Jim and Sean over there, so rocking out on Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. on the East Coast. So yeah, is there anywhere else that you, besides Plus Ultra, that we can find you, or anything else to share right now?
Well, everything that happens will presumably be announced at plusultraclub.com, and there are all sorts of plans in the works, and yeah, the weekly show is just one of the things. So there's many things going on there, and I really think that the luckily there's actually 2 Templar related books coming out soon, and I think we'll just end up doing them this summer. Like, the momentum is building. So it's Mysterium Baphometus Revelatum, translated from the Latin, with my commentary. And then the Secret Statutes of the Templars, translated from German, with commentary by me, and also Harrison Lindenfield, who has distinguished himself on the RX Only Picture Show. So,
yeah, I was gonna say that's Harrison doing those.
yeah, he's the one that did the translation. We will be working together on that book, and I think it's going to be interesting because, like, it, again, my perspective on these things is not that there's ever one definitive answer on what is the truth about the Templars, but I think that really there are a lot of contributions to that river of tradition there, and it's important to even look at what some of the historical critics and other historian observers of the situation have said about it.
Hammer Pergstall is one of the main ones, right?
Yeah, so Joseph von Hammer Pergstall, I mean, one of the preeminent Orientalists of 19th century France, wrote this book about what he thought were Templar artifacts that he had discovered, and more a general thesis also expressed in the article about what he thought the Templar rites and rituals were, and the meaning of them.
And you wrote that book a while ago, and it's now coming back through a translation coming out hopefully at the end of the summer.
I'm gonna just like kind of make a commitment here that we're gonna put this out this summer, and maybe,
do it. You heard it here.
I'm serious. Like, I'm just kind of, I don't know.
It's a good thing.
What it's gonna do for us, but it's like it needs to happen.
It's a good thing to get it done, and it's nice. It'll be relieving, and you'll be proud of yourself. It'll be good.
Honestly, I think there's a lot of very important information in both of these texts, and it really kind of explains. This stuff is already talked about a lot in Baphomet, the Temple Mystery Unveiled, which is already in print. But this material that's going to come out really explains a lot of what the real connection is between what modern Western occult orders are practicing and teaching, and why they claim that they have a Templar origin to their rituals, which really would make no sense if you were to believe what has been up until recently the standard line on the Templars. So, and the standard line on the Templars actually got demolished in 2007, but most people didn't notice. So we're here to explain it all to you.
You know what we're gonna have to do is we'll have you, and we'll get you and Harrison on a 6 of Wands coming up when we do start doing the live shows there. We can discuss that further, because there's a lot of stuff coming down the pike. Wouldn't it be crazy if I ended up joining the York Rite of Freemasonry and became a Knights Templar? Wouldn't that be something?
Well, I wouldn't be terribly surprised, I suppose, but
well, anyways, but let's just save one thing for one thing. And so I think that so everyone knows you got the project coming. They know where to find you at the say the website one more time.
plusultraclub.com. And yes, I would say to everybody, like, don't see us as the enemies of any tradition or order. We are trying to figure out what is going on, and I think we've done a very good job of it so far. You may be kind of freaked out by some of the revelations, but ultimately we're just trying to figure out the lessons that history and mythology is trying to teach us, and they're pretty far out there. But if you're up for that sort of thing, you should try out the membership. You should also try out the books, and you'll see exactly how deep it goes and why I continue to do this. You'll see what I'm talking about.